Hello, friends and neighbors. Hello, hello, hello. I am back, and this time I've actually got semi-decent tracking. Go figure. How we doing today? Hey, Alex, happy to Alex. Sorry. Hey, happy to have you here. Happy to have you here. I hope that you are doing well. Hope that you're doing just great. I hope that we are all having a lovely day. I'm having a good day so far. It's hot out, but it's decent. I got to go and work at a cafe for a bit, which is always a nice thing. Unfortunately, my favorite one isn't open on Mondays, but you know, we can make do. It's always nice to have an excuse to go out and buy a pastry. I actually got one full lecture already done, but today, oh, I'm glad that you're doing well. I'm glad you're doing well. Yeah, today I figured we could try some Q&A. But of course, if nobody has any questions, that's okay. My threatening thing is that if nobody has questions, I'm just gonna yap. I also figured I could get a bit more work done. I've already done one full PowerPoint today at that cafe, but I figured I could do a little more if necessary. It's Monday, though. It's Monday. You know what that means. Actually, I don't know what that means. It's the start of the work week, but I'm not back at work yet. The semester doesn't start for another little bit. I've still got a little time to prepare for the semester, which is good because the semester is scary and I don't want to work on this semester. I'm not ready for the semester yet, but I'm getting there. I'm pretty close to ready. I'm pretty close to ready. I don't know if any of y'all are going back to school soon, but we'll get through this. We're gonna survive. But yeah, the QR code up there, I should probably put a label on it eventually, but I'm kind of lazy. Um, so the label to the form is, or the link to the form's right up there. I also have, oh God, I actually have something really important to do in like 15 minutes because I'm a fool. But yeah, if you want to ask questions, the QR code is right up there. And there's also a link in the pinned comments or the pinned chat message. They aren't tangents if we're not on topic to begin with anyways. You are so right. Actually, I need to be right back. This is horrible timing. I forgot that I have something very important to do at 3 p.m. and I can do it while I'm on stream, but I need to grab something first. I'm not very good at planning. Apparently, this bodes well for the semester, doesn't it? There we go. All right, so let me tell you about what the important thing that I have to do. So every year I go to a certain convention. Every year I go to a certain anime convention. It is a tradition. I have been going to this convention for like 15 years or something ridiculous. Like more than 15 years. It's definitely been more than 15 years that I've been going to this same convention every year possible. And well, see, it can be very difficult to get a hotel room for this convention. I mean, I figure most major anime conventions are like that these years. It's very difficult to get a hotel room for that convention. And it's not time to book hotel rooms today, no. But it is the day that registration opens, and priority for booking hotel rooms is based on when you register for the convention. And so that means the second registration opens, I need to be there. Um, I'm starting my uni arc soon, and 2 months is both a long time and a very short, depending on how you think about it. That's exciting, though! It's time for the university arc! I honestly wish that I could go back to undergrad. I want to go back to undergrad so bad. I would love to do another undergraduate degree, I'm not gonna lie. I think I actually could, but I hope that you have a lovely, lovely university experience. I know, like, there's a lot of things that can affect how you enjoy university, you know? Um, but and like, nothing's gonna be perfect ever, but I really hope that you have a wonderful one. Yes. What do you think about majoring in? I think about majoring in. Have you decided? I know, like, not everybody, not everybody goes in with a plan. I went in with kind of a plan that didn't exactly go as planned. But, you know, a different structure, different folks. Some people will go in undeclared, though I think undeclared isn't really a thing in every country. I know in the US where I am, you can go into university without declaring a major, but I think other places you have to have a specific major that you want, that you're going to do when you go into university. I think. Does that sound right? I don't know. Obviously, maybe not so obvious, because not everybody who gets a PhD in psychology majored in psychology, but maybe semi-obviously, I majored in psychology. Just the funny bit of that, though, is that I didn't actually intend to do psychology for, like, related things for a job. That was not my intention. Like, majoring in psychology was just me killing time until I could get a master's. Did I ever talk about that? Like, what my original job plans were? Like, what my dream job was? I don't know if I ever did. When I went to grad school, or when I went to undergrad, sorry, not grad school, undergrad, I was doing, oh, yeah, mechatronics! Mechatronics! I've never heard of that, but it might change to mechanical engineering, or for our equivalent here, if it turns out to be too software heavy, so to say. Oh, I see. Mechatronics. That sounds really cool. Synergistic integration of mechanical, electrical, and computer systems employing mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, electronic engineering, and computer engineering. That is a lot of stuff all in one. Robotics, computer science, telecommunication systems, control, automation, and project. And that sounds really cool. That is a lot. That is really neat. That's a lot all at once. Oh, that's cool. I wonder if maybe the thing that I originally wanted to do is somewhat related to that. So, what I originally wanted to do going into undergrad was I wanted to make prosthetic limbs. That's what I wanted to do as a job when I went into undergrad. Unfortunately, most programs to learn how to make prosthetic limbs were master's programs, and the one program that you could get a degree in prosthetics and orthotics as an undergrad, I think it was at University of Washington, Seattle, I think. Unfortunately, the year before I applied, they switched it to a master's only program. They stopped it being undergrad. They stopped it so undergrads could no longer get a degree in that. Yeah, it sounds so cool. And honestly, I'd still love to try and get into that, even though I've like none of the prerequisite skills. But yeah, so my plan was to just, I would get a degree, undergrad degree in psychology, because it seemed interesting to me. And also I figured, you know, like, knowing about psychology could help me work with, maybe it would somehow help in my work with talking directly to the people who needed the prosthetics and stuff. In retrospect, I probably should have done like some sort of engineering something. But then ultimately, I didn't end up going into that. Part of it was that one of the prerequisites for the master's program was a chem course, and I completely forgot to take a chemistry course in undergrad. But also, I got distracted by other things. An exoskeleton is on my project list anyways, no matter what happens with uni. Nice! Oh man, I remember in high school, I am 100% confident that I was not the first person to come up with the idea of an exoskeleton, but, I remember in high school and I was like, oh, I want to go into prosthetics or and orthotics. I was like, oh, you know what? I bet you could create some sort of thing a bit like a prosthetic limb that's an external support structure for people who are paralyzed, like below the waist, or otherwise cannot move their legs on their own. I bet you could make something like that. And like I designed a whole thing that ended up looking very similar to the exoskeletons that we have today. Of course, I had no idea how to make it work or anything. And I'm sure somebody else came up with the idea before I did, but I felt very ahead of my time when I saw that people were actually starting to make those a few years later. Hey, Dromathrax, Hal by Cyberdyne. Oh, what's that? I'm gonna Google this. Hal Cyberdyne. I know Hal is from the... Ooh, hybrid assisted limb. Is this an exoskeleton? Is this an exoskeleton? It looks like it might be an exoskeleton. Yeah, something like that. I had designed and by design I mean sort of drawn up like concept art essentially for something very, very similar to this. Of course, obviously you can see I went down a very, very, very different path. I do not have anything close to the prerequisite skills to create something like that. It's for physical therapy, not daily use. The CEO is a nerd. Yeah, that makes sense. I think it makes a lot. Like, making an exoskeleton for daily use, I imagine, has a lot of considerations that I wouldn't necessarily think about, but I can see it working pretty well for physical therapy. Of course, I know nothing about this. I know very little, and all my knowledge of like prosthetics and stuff is largely out of date. But that is so cool. I hope that it seems to me like a really good idea, and I hope that that's not just like my ignorant brain talking, and I hope that it actually is highly effective and like as useful as my brain tells me it should be, you know? I really hope. Something very similar to Hal was in Robotics Notes. Oh, Robotics Notes, that's from that series of visual novels with like Steins Gate and stuff, or like, see, I don't know if it was, like, I think Steins Gate started as a visual novel, if I remember right. I think Psy mentioned playing some of it on stream, but I know that, like, there's Robotics Notes, there's Occultic 9, I think, was also related to that, and they weren't, like, you know, necessarily in the same universe or same characters or anything, but same creative staff and same universe. Ah, I actually kind of liked Occultic 9, I'm not gonna lie. I know that that like kind of got really panned when it came out, but I enjoyed it. And Paco did the character design, and I really like Paco's art and character design. So I was like, yeah, heck yeah. And I just like spooky things. I like spooky things. So sue me. Hmm. Good times, good times. I'll have to check out Robotic Notes Exoskeleton. I know exoskeleton just sounds really spooky. It's just like a support structure with some robotic components that help support your limbs. Um, Robotic Notes Exoskeleton. I want to see that. You know, I said that I was getting at some work, but then Steins Gate, Chaos Head, and Robotic Notes are in the same universe. Occultic 9 is separate. That makes a heck of a lot more sense. Yeah, okay. Steins Gate, Chaos Head, and Robotic Notes are in the same universe, because those are all, like, a lot more sci-fi, whereas Occultic 9 or Occult 9 is way more paranormal, as you can probably tell from the name. I watched the Steins Gate anime, the original one anyway. I haven't watched like anything after that, but I watched the original Steins Gate anime. I haven't seen Chaos Ed, I haven't seen Robotic Notes, I have seen Occultic 9. Yeah. I remember the opening for that being really good. I should hunt that down again. I haven't watched it in years. I wonder if this show is still streaming. Occultic 9. It aired in 2016. Wow, it's been a minute. Is it still on Crunchyroll? It looks like it's still available on Crunchyroll. Maybe I'll rewatch it. Maybe. Anyway. Oh, good times, good times, good times. I'm not really, I don't know. I like sci-fi, but not as much as like paranormal fantasy stuff, you know? I think I don't know if I've talked about this here before, but I just think like things like aliens are kind of boring. I'm a sucker for things like ghosts and cryptids and paranormal phenomena. Like, I don't believe that they actually exist. I just think that they're very fun. And I recognize that's a weird thing to say when I myself am a cryptid that obviously exists. But, you know, like, eh. But aliens are just kind of less interesting to me. Less fun to think about. I'm not sure if that's... I wonder if there's a reason for that. Like, I can come up with reasons like why I think that might be the case, but I wonder if there's like some actual psychological phenomena. I don't think that's the case, because a lot of people seem interested in aliens, so. Also, I don't know yet what dorm room I'm gonna get, so that should be fun. At the beginning, I should get all my stuff in there no matter how big it is, but if it's on the smaller side, I will have to get creative to fit all the stuff I'm gonna build over the next 5. Oh boy. Yeah. Oh man. So do you keep the same dorm room for 5 solid years? That's pretty impressive. I actually did end up having the same dorm room 2 years in a row for my freshman and sophomore year. But I think that was more of a coincidence than anything else. Like they still make you move out and then move out at the end of the year and then move all the way back in, even if you're keeping the same dorm room, which was kind of a pain in the butt. It was kind of annoying. Like you had to, especially because I went to college out of state. So I had to like, I think I rented a storage unit or something like that to store all my stuff over the summer. Did I? Or did I just lug it all the way back to my home state? I don't remember. Don't remember. I think I might have lugged it all the way back to my home state over the summer and then lugged it all the way back. So I moved out. I moved all my stuff out. And then, like, 3 months later, I came back and I moved all my stuff back in, dragging, like, 2 giant suitcases across state lines. Back and forth, back and forth. I was in an apartment for my last 2 years, or my last year and a half, I should say. So in that case, like I was able to extend the lease over the summer, so I didn't need to do that, which was nice. Oh man. Do you have roommates? I had a roommate. I had a roommate. It was like rough. I get to keep the same room over the entire there. Can't imagine the stress of moving. That's so nice though. That is really nice, especially if you've got like big robotic projects though. That is so nice. Yeah, no, I did not have that privilege. Like at least for my first 2 years. When I got the apartment, that wasn't an issue, but like the first 2 years, that was a huge pain. Okay, okay. The time has come to register for this convention. Oh my god, no, come here. Show me your registration. Registration. Come here. Let me register. I need to register for this. I'm sorry. I gotta. It's so important. It's so important. I need to register right now, or I will explode and collapse. This is, oh my gosh, their website is dying. Their websites, this happens every year, of course. This happens every year because everybody's trying to get in all at once, you know? So their website, like, you'd think they'd be able to handle it by now. They've been running this con for 1 billion years now. Ah, let me in! Let me register for your convention! Okay. Out here it's standard, everyone has their own room, but it's a shared that is so nice. Like, I think I talked about this before, but like, where I went, that was very much not the case. I was, like, in the dorms, you were sharing this teeny tiny room with one other person. You did not, like, the bathrooms was basically like, oh, hey, Aggie, it's Bird Brains. Yep, that's me. I am here to bird brain. I have no brain, and I must bird. Uh, I forget what I was talking about. Yeah, no, we had basically what amounted to, like, a public, or, like, a gym bathroom, and we had one kitchen for the entire dorm building, which was, like, probably had, like, we probably had, like, 300 to one or something. Didn't know you were a moth until last week. Yeah, it's a common mistake, which is understandable. The reason my like default design is so birdish is that a Mothman is thought to be a bird. Like Mothman sightings are generally explained as a large bird. Come on, let me in, let me in, let me in, let me register, let me in, let me into the website. I'm gonna scream. This is now a stream about. This is now. Oh, the website's down. The website is down. Let me in. I want to register for the convention. I'm gonna bite. I'm gonna start biting people. I'm gonna start biting people. I'm gonna start biting people. That's fine. I'm totally good. Everything is great. Everything's fine. I also could have gotten a room where everything for myself, but I'm pretty sure I will not partake in this thing called social interaction, as I'll be stuck working on projects in my room. Yeah, I think it's very important to, like, I mean, social interaction and just friendships in general are a very, very important thing. Just because Astral here doesn't mean you won't get clipped. No! Well, you know what? I'm totally fine with getting clipped saying I'm gonna bite people because, like, that's fine for me. I'm totally cool with that. Just that's part of my brand is I will bite. I'm going to bite. Sometimes I say I don't bite, but I'm lying. I'm gonna bite my leg off. Where are we? What was I doing? I need to register for the convention or I will explode. Where is everything happen? Where is everything happen? Okay, register now. Oh my gosh, it's 3 minutes past push registration open. This is not the ideal situation. No, it says registration's closed, but registration's supposed to have just opened. Registration. Register for the convention. Gotta go for a bit. Could be back in 10 minutes. Take good care. Ooh. We live in a society. Hey, Glee! My least hated. I'm honored that I'm the least hated one. What am I registering for? I'm registering for a convention. I need to register for the convention, an anime convention. Yeah, I'm trying. I'm trying so hard to register for this anime convention because I mentioned this earlier, but it's very competitive to get a hotel room for this convention, and I do not live in the same state as this convention, so it is imperative that I get a hotel room for this convention. However, the unfortunate thing, the server's down for maintenance. But getting a hotel room, your priority for getting a hotel room is based on when you register, and therefore it is absolutely imperative that I register as soon as I physically can. But registration opened 5 minutes ago, and I've been trying to get to the registration page for 5 minutes, and I have not succeeded in getting to the registration page, and I am going to scream, and I am going to cry, and I am going to bite, and I am going to cry, and I am going to scream. Okay, oh hey, Alex asked a question. Alex left the question in the Q&A thing, and then left. Oh, we'll wait until Alex is back to try and answer that, especially because I need to focus on the registration thing. We're gonna do it. We're gonna go to the convention. We're gonna go to the convention, everyone. You have to pay for your own registration, though. I cannot afford to register for all of you. I wish I could. I wish I could bring you all with me. Ooh, we're gonna take a field trip class. Class for taking a field trip to the anime convention. I found out there's apparently some courses in math that you can take online, so maybe I can speedrun a degree by applying to a shitty online university that's accepts Sophia. What's Sophia? Cleaning out gen eds and doing the good ones outside of it so I can go to grad school. I wonder if, depending on the type of program, I wonder if they'd be okay with an online degree, especially from a, like, because, you know, there are diploma farms, and, like, places are aware of that. I would love to go to an anime convention, but the next one here is in November. I love anime conventions. I don't know when the next one in my immediate area is. I think it probably is also something like November. I have this problem where, like, both of the anime conventions that I traditionally go to in a year are literally a week apart. So, like, my anime convention dose for the entire year is just 2 weeks. Just, like, right one weekend after another. So, you know, you just kind of... Oh, I guess there's... No, that's not anime. I'm talking regionally accredited, not-for-profit unity, so... Oh, yeah, that's probably fine. That's probably fine, then. I have been considering taking some online classes. I would also... oh, there's one next month. Hey, guys, and welcome! Happy to have you here. I am currently losing my mind. I'm doing a really good job of it, though. I'm being very reasonable and not totally losing my mind. Because I'm just so good at everything. What am I talking about? Well, yeah, I've been wanting for a while to get another degree, honestly. I'll send you the courses in your Discord server. Oh, wait, I'm not clean. Productively losing my mind. Productivity is debatable. Oh, I guess there are a couple of other anime conventions coming up. Maybe I'll go to some. See, the tricky thing about anime conventions in my immediate area is there is a very high risk that I will run into my students at the anime convention. Weebductivity, yeah. I'm currently trying to register for an anime convention. Apparently pre-registration was supposed to start 8 minutes ago, and it's not letting me in. It's not letting me in. I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna cry. Weebductive reasoning is when you apply anime logic. It's true. Making a class trip then. Yeah, I can make a class trip to the anime. I don't want to be responsible for that. I don't want to be responsible for my students at an anime convention. No offense to my students. No offense to my students. I have many wonderful, very responsible, very mature students, but I fear I'm not a responsible adult. Grade them for their cause. No! See, my greatest fear is that at some anime convention, I'm gonna run into one of my students while I'm in cosplay. I must not be recognized. They must never recognize me as a cosplayer. So I feel more comfortable going to anime conventions out of state because there's a lower probability that my students will recognize will be at that convention, much less recognize me. You know, like I don't. I feel like there's seeing your teacher at the grocery is one thing. Seeing your teacher at an anime convention is another thing entirely. Oh, apparently I'm not completely better yet. I remember a TA saying that she had a sexy witch outfit for Halloween and she was like 50 or something. That TA is so powerful. I gotta respect it. I always fear I'll run into my students in the supermarket. I'm somewhat lucky in that I actually live pretty far away from where, well, not pretty far away, but I live far enough away from where I teach that I'm unlikely to see my students when I'm out grocery shopping or something, but I have learned on a couple of occasions that, like, one of my students works at a restaurant that I go to sometimes, or, like, like, and then I would just get, like, or, like, students will be like, hey, you should come to the restaurant I work at, and I'm like, no, no, I don't want you to know what I'm like outside of the classroom. You don't need to know that. I would love to meet your TA, Clee. Yeah, it is rare to have a TA that's around that age. I mean, it's not, like, impossible, of course, but I feel like that's kind of unusual. I bet she has a really interesting life story. I would love to learn more, but I love people. Very few Mothmen in university. Point Pleasant is very gentrified. Yeah, Point Pleasant University is, well, the Point Pleasant that I'm familiar with is, in the alternate universe where Mothmen are the norm. So it's not quite the same as the Point Pleasant in your universe. That's right, I'm isekai'd. I've isekai'd myself to this universe for additional access to academia. But there are plenty of Mothmen at Point Pleasant University. But there's not many Mothmen at your Point Pleasant, unfortunately. There was just the one. just the singular. The ping seems pretty good. That's good. Yeah, no, well, I'm currently in your universe right now. I grew up and got my bachelor's in the other universe. Maybe she wasn't a TA. Is TA specifically referring to grad students because she was an assistant lecturer, but I'm pretty sure. Oh, when I think of TAs, most TAs that I know, oh, I got through to the registration FAQ. I got through to the registration FAQ. Show me where to register, though. Let me register. Um, Best character in Kung Fu Panda. What? Oh, Ping. Yeah. When I think of TA, what I think of is I think of at my university, the most TAs in my department anyway. In my department, almost all the TAs are graduate students. Some of them are post-bacs, which is like after you get your bachelor's degree, you stay on and kind of work as like a research assistant in a lab and then also as a TA. And I know some departments at my university have undergraduate TAs. I think those are more or less common depending on the university. Um, but I know some universities, like if it's like a specialized thing, like biology or chemistry or something, you may have people who like they're acting. I wouldn't necessarily call them a TA, but they're like a lab tech or something who helps with the instruction and setting up the lab and stuff like that. So it's possible she was something like that depending on which class this was. You know? I don't know much. I am but an egg. I am the size and shape of an egg. Undergrad TA, also known as postdoc, that didn't make it. What? Oh, you can't be a postdoc is postdoctorate, right? So that would be pretty intense if they were like, wait, okay, register here. Okay, let me in, let me in, let me in. This is just the 2025 registration website. What do you want from me? Why do you hate me? Hey, Xenotime! You're hardly an egg, but a bird. It's well, I'm the size and shape of an egg. That's a lie. I'm but an egg does not compute with I'm hella queer. I'm not an egg in that way. I hatched from that egg a long time ago. It's radioactive. Yeah. Oh man, Xenotime, please don't be radioactive. I do worry. Oh, Xenotime does some really intense things on stream. Or actually, I haven't been able to catch one of your streams lately, but I remember the first stream of yours I caught. I was like, oh my god, are you okay? You beat me to it with the egg jokes. Yeah, yeah. No, I'm not that kind of egg. I've hatched from that kind of egg. For those unfamiliar with the egg joke, egg is a term in the trans community specifically to refer to people who probably will identify as trans but have not realized or come to identify it as trans yet. I haven't streamed in months on account of doing research internship abroad in Germany. Yeah, that would be something that would get in the way. I guess you could say it hatched. Yes. Clearly that's why I have bird features. I hatched from my egg. Oh, good times. I've rather been busy doing work on a train to Denmark since it's nicer that. Oh my gosh, that's wild. What's a. Oh yeah, I'm waiting for Alex to return to answer this question. Ah, man. Yeah, I've never been in the joke hatch, not you. You're not going to be able to fly soon, Grand Moff. I'm not that old. I'm not that old. I'm but the size and shape of a. I'm but a baby. I don't actually know the lifespan of a Mothman. This is kind of concerning. Myelin has all the moth abilities. It's true. I'm attracted to light and everything. What are moth abilities? Can I fly? I think what I've said in a previous stream, and I don't want to contradict myself, is that I can't fly because I don't get out much and I don't exercise much, and all the muscles that I would have to use to fly have atrophied horribly. So I can't fly. I really need to work out a lot if I want to start flying again. Boo. Boo. Exercise. Boo. Probably longer than VTuber lifespan, considering 25 is hag age. That is so stupid. 25 is not hag age. I hate it. Like, I know that that is, like, the thing, but, like, it's not, I'm not a hag. I'm not a hag. I am more powerful than you possibly could imagine, but I'm not a hag. Mila trying to fly again, workout stream. No, please don't make me work out. Please. I've been thinking that I probably should work out. 25 is so far from hag. Agreed. Agreed. I don't know what age should be considered hag, but 25 is far from hag. I am stronger than forever. And not a hag. Ring Fit stream. No. But the hag, the hog? Oh no. I've never been to the hog, so I cannot claim one way or another whether I'm the hog. I think if I did actually, I guess a Ring Fit stream or any type of like fitness stream would honestly be really entertaining for all of you. It would be miserable for me, but IRL probably 45 isn't even that old. I feel like if you want to be a real hag, you've got to be 80 plus. You got to be 80 plus to be like a proper hag. Yeah, hag doesn't feel the same as older adult. A hag, I think, is, and I'm using this term gender neutrally, I think anyone can be a hag if they try hard enough once they reach a certain age. But you gotta be like 80 years old or older. You have to like have a lot of wrinkles. You've never worn sunscreen in your life. Your hair is completely white and really long, and you haven't combed your hair in approximately 30 years. You live in a bog, in a shack in a bog, and in that shack in the bog, your shack in the bog has to have a fence made of bones. And yes, you have a creaky voice from smoking your whole life. And also, your shack in the bog, it walks around on chicken legs, and you eat small children. To be a hag, you have to be Baba Yaga. Or Baba Yaga. You have to. That's the prototypical. Baba Yaga is the prototypical hag upon all which all other hags are based. This is true and irrefutable. I am very correct. Yaga. Baba Yaga. I should know this. I literally took a class on Russian fairy tales, and so I should know how to pronounce Baba Yaga. But like, it's been so long since I took that class. That's my only defense. It's been so long since I took that class. But you gotta be... Baba Yaga is the prototypical hag. I will accept no substitutes. You have to be at least close to Baba Yaga's level to be considered a true hag. This is my... Still cool that you took it. It was such a fun class. It was such a cool class. What about the bone leg? I don't remember the bone leg. I remember the bone fence and the chicken hut, or the hut on chicken legs, and riding around in the mortar using a pestle as like a propulsion or steering device. And that she ate children, and there was a fairy tale about her with a princess, where the princess was clever and somehow survived. And maybe she granted wishes if she didn't eat you. It's been a while. I need to reread stuff on Baba Yaga. I'm pretty sure she's referred to as Baba Yaga the bone leg in some versions. Ooh, maybe. I'll have to check that out again. Russian folklore is really interesting. I really love folklore in general, and like, you know, mythological creatures and like figures and stuff like that. I think that stuff is really cool, and I still think that... No, wait, apparently some spin-off of Fate now has a Baba Yaga. I think she should be a caster class and a rider class, I think that's very important to me. She can be a caster class or a rider class. And Baba Yaga is so good and very fascinating. 10 out of 10. It's Lost Einherjar. Hey, Mainzel. Welcome. Yes, that's right. Yes, I'm so excited because I made a Baba Yaga fan servant about 1 billion years ago. But yeah, no, I'm pretty sure you're right, Einzel. I'm like 90%. She didn't grant wishes. She was helpful to some of the heroes. I don't remember which one, telling them how to get to Koshie. Yeah, that sounds right. Like, I knew that like she wasn't always... Hey, Alex, welcome back. What do you think of yokai? I love yokai. Yokai are fascinating, and honestly, my partner loves yokai. They've been considering making a YouTube channel to talk about yokai and Japanese folklore and stuff like that. They have like 5 different books on yokai, and they follow like academic experts on yokai on social media and stuff. Yokai are cool, man. Yokai are cool. I've considered making a Tsuchinoko model. I would love to do a yokai at some point. I want to do a kitsune model, but I feel like that's kind of cliche at this point. Like, there's a lot of fox. Yokai Academia needs to be right. I want to make her a model. She wants to be, or I want to make them a model. I think they wanted they were thinking of a onryo based model, like a vengeful ghost, kind of like what's her name, Kayako or whatever from The Grudge. Also, you had to ask her hut to turn around you because it was turned away from you towards the forest by default. That makes sense. So that's all. Have you have they done previous con panels on yokai? No, they have not done previous con panels on yokai. They've attended con panels on yokai, but I think the most recent one they went to, they were not terribly impressed, unfortunately. Yokai are the original SCPs. Kind of true, kind of true. Yokai Academia, Dark Academia, but weeb, yeah. No, I would love them to do a con panel on yokai, though. They know a lot about yokai. Mm-hmm. And I'd love to learn more about yokai. Apparently, August is a spooky month in Japan, so a lot of the yokai and Japanese folklore academics are coming out of the woodwork and, like, posting stuff about it, which is really neat. My partner is very excited about all of it. Oh no, I accidentally opened R. I opened R, oh no. Anyway, now that Alex is back, I can answer this question. August is a spooky month everywhere, just me? I don't think it's considered a particularly spooky month in the US. Like, I don't know, like, data analysis, it's not data analysis time. Oh, R didn't open. To Facebook opening R by accident. Hey, bye. It happens to me all the time. I'm constantly opening R by accident, which is really annoying because it takes a long time to open. Like, it's not great. It's like accidentally opening a game, but yeah, it's why can't I hold all my R's? I don't know. Okay, so the question from Alex is, what is a cool thing in your field that you want more people to know about? I want more people to know about social psychology in general. Asking that question immediately disappearing, it's fine. KatsuCon is pretty supportive of academic Japanese myth stuff. That's cool. I've never been to Katsu. I planned to go one year and then it didn't work out. In fact, the year that I planned to go, I'd booked my hotel, I'd registered for Katsu and anything and everything. I genuinely had. But that was the year that I was applying to grad school, and unfortunately the interview for the grad school that I ended up getting into was the same weekend as Katsu. So I had to cancel Katsu. I couldn't go to Katsu because I had to go interview for grad school, and that's the school I ended up going to, so I guess it worked out. A character is a yokai scholar, but they also prowl the woods, and if you don't ignore them, they hold you down and yap at you for hours about their yokai special interest. That sounds like what my partner would be as a VTuber. You just can't withstand the yaps. Yeah. Oh no, the unwavering pain of grad school application strikes again. It's true. Okay. The coolest thing in your field that you want, I want people to know about social psychology generally. Like, when people think about psychology, and you see this a lot, like, we see this a lot in side streams, like, people think all of psychology is clinical psychology, right? It's very easy for people to think that psychology is all about just, like, mental health and treating people and, like, therapy and stuff like that. And, like, you know, people are always like, oh, you do psychology, analyze me, or, oh, like, how can I do this? L takes best psychology is antisocial psychology. I mean, I think that this isn't about what the best part of psychology is. It's about what you think you wish people knew more about, right? Or were more aware of. Or, so, like, how does that make you feel? Exactly. Like, I love clinical psychology, and I think that's super interesting stuff. But I think that because it's so prominent, there's a lot of super interesting psychology out there that just, like, the mainstream is not even aware of. How is social psychology different from sociology? It seems like both are stuff people do plus stats. Great question, Clee. That is a wonderful question. The difference between social psychology and sociology is in the level of analysis. Sociology treats groups as the level of analysis. So it's looking at social groups or society as a whole as the level of analysis. It's kind of treating, like, a large group of people as a single organism when it's studying people. It's not looking at the individual, it's looking at how the group operates. Kind of like, you know, how, like, a body is made up of cells, and we study, a person's made up of cells, and we study a person. Sociology is studying the group that's made up of people. So it's not concerned with the individual within the group, it's concerned with the group as a whole. Yeah, micro versus macroeconomics. One's about agents, the other's about systems. Yeah, I think that's a great metaphor. Yeah, psychology and social psychology specifically is about the individuals within the system, whereas sociology is more about the system. So social psychology is, we've got more of a magnifying glass. We're at more of a micro E level, whereas sociology is more at a macro E level. That would be the primary difference. So we do study a lot of the same things, but we come at it from different angles. They're more big picture, we're more small picture. I mean, to an extent, we're still kind of big picture, but yeah. Oh, look, there's a question for how, definitely not eggy. Oh, I'm actually having trouble explaining sociology stuff to someone since I've been taking classes in a university, but that's a great way to put it. I'm glad. I have to teach about that on day one of social psych 101 because I mean, it's a common question and it's a good question. Like, it's a really good question. That makes a lot of sense to ask. All right, so, how did you decide you wanted to pursue a master's and then a PhD? Great question. All questions are good questions. But yeah, that's a fun question. So, psychologist sucks to be you, sociology sucks to be like you, so poli-sci sucks to be like you, want to lead a revolution. Oh gosh. I actually work with political well, back when I was doing more active research, I worked with political scientists a pretty decent amount. I had a political scientist on my dissertation committee actually, because like a lot of the stuff that I did was highly related to political science, and even after getting my PhD, I've collaborated with political scientists a bit as well. Because political psychology and political science they're pretty similar. They're like concerned with different things and they do research in different ways, but like, a lot of the time they're asking very similar or even identical questions, just going about it differently. Yeah, how did you decide you wanted to pursue a master's and then a PhD? Yes. So, part of this is kind of a stupid answer. Like, I don't necessarily have great answers for this. But part of it was like I did work real world jobs and I determined that I'm scared of the real world. Like the real world, I think now I could probably handle it, but like, when I was fresh out of undergrad, I think like most people, I was scared of real world jobs. Oh my god, registration's open, I'm going in. So I was scared of going into the real world, and I'm gonna try and talk while I'm doing this, but I need to do something. I need to act very, very quickly, or else bad things will happen. I need to act very, very quickly, and then I will answer this question. But oh my god, registration is finally open, and I'm gonna do it. Oh no, 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 what? No! Converse, Mylan boss speed powers activate. It's true. It's true. Okay. Okay. Wait. What's wrong with that? Okay. Yes. Yes. Okay. Okay. Yes. Good. Okay. 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 Yes. Yes. No, don't need that. Don't need that. Don't need that. Age range? Why do they need to know my age? They don't need to know my age. That's horrible. Okay, okay, yeah, that's perfect. Okay, okay, here we go. Hi, Bobo, what you doing? Hey, Bobo, hi, good to see you. Happy to have you. Oh my gosh, okay, just do whatever you're doing and get back to it. I will do that. Oh my god, okay, 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 okay. No, why do I? I don't know if I was fast enough. I don't know if I was fast enough, but I did it. Okay. I probably wasn't fast enough. Oh man, I hope I was fast enough. I tried very hard. Where were we? Okay, let's catch up on chat. Poli-sci people will spend hours fighting over which voting system to use before voting on it if it sucks to be like, oh no. Conference question later, thank you. Mylan Moss, speed powers activate. I tried. Just do it. Imagine Bird at the DMV. Was it Rap God? And I left for a minute. Why are they now my Olympic queen? Why? Okay, I've successfully registered. Hopefully I registered fast enough. I didn't notice it when it immediately opened. And hopefully that means other people were the same. Oh my gosh, we did it. We did it, boys and girls and those who transcend gender entirely. We've done it. We are now registered for the convention. Where were we? What was I talking about? Right, how did I decide to get master's and then a PhD? It's more like I decided to get a PhD. I applied to PhD programs where I got a master's along the way. So I always knew that I didn't want to stop at a master's. I always wanted to get a full PhD. The whiplash, right? Sorry, Bobo. Registering for cons is a serious business. Doing VTuber research so I can have a letter of recommendation from Mylan. If any of you help me with my research an adequate amount and do a good job of it, I'd be happy to write you a letter of recommendation. Though um, I wonder how I wonder how people would take that. I mean, I need to get to know you pretty well and how you work to write you a letter of recommendation, which might be difficult if I don't start doing research projects myself, or like if anyone recruits me to help them with a research project or whatever. But like, and also I don't know if I could write a letter as Mylan. I don't know if people would take me seriously if I tried to write a letter of recommendation as Mylan. But how do you work? I don't. Oh no, I wouldn't be able to write you a letter then. I'm sorry. But yeah, I decided I wanted to do a PhD. Part of it was like, how earlier I talked about like how I initially wanted to make prosthetics, and then there were a couple of reasons that didn't end up working out. But one of them, of course, I wouldn't ask you for a letter, seems kind of weird. That's fine. If V Theorem will eventually have its own journal we trust, that would be cool. I have actually offered to write somebody that I met through VTubing a letter of recommendation should they need it. I can't go into more detail, but there is a VTuber that I have talked a lot with off of stream and worked with off of stream, and that I have offered a letter of recommendation. They haven't taken me up on it yet, but like I would be happy to write them a letter, and I'd be able to write them a strong letter. It's just a question of like, could I use the name Mylan for it, or would I have to use a different name for it, Hmm. I'd probably have to use a different name for it because I don't think admissions committees would trust me. Like, I do have a PhD. Don't get me. I absolutely do have a PhD. But would admissions committee trust that a cryptid on the internet has a PhD? I don't know. For what I've seen, unis require your actual internal uni. Yeah, so I probably couldn't write one as Mylan, unfortunately. I have V Theorem University and Point Pleasant University are not recognized as accredited universities in your universe, unfortunately. But yeah, I decided I wanted to get a PhD because, ooh, that's exciting, Eggy. Degree, it's not a degree, Bill. I worked hard for that PhD. I busted my ass for 6 years for that PhD. Well, more like 5.5 years. I graduated a semester, well, I kind of graduated a semester early. It's weird. But right. So I didn't take a chem class, so I couldn't go and make a prosthetic limb. But while I was doing my undergrad, I encountered a professor. He probably wasn't actually a professor. He was probably a lecturer. But one of my teachers in one of my college classes, he was like the coolest person ever. To me, he was the coolest person ever. He taught my social psychology class and my history of psychology class. And he made all of his lectures, he was super engaging and super charismatic, and like he was really good at teaching. All of his lectures felt like I was attending like a stand-up comedy routine or something, and it was super cool and it was really fun. And he wrote a novel. He wrote like a fictional thriller novel that had gotten a movie deal that I don't know if the movie deal ever ended up panning out. I haven't heard anything about it. But I also have like wanted to be a novelist, and I was like, that sounds like the coolest thing ever. And also I kind of became obsessed with social psychology. I thought it was really cool. I did an honors thesis where I did some research, and I had a lot of fun with the research, and I was like, I want to keep doing research. So it was like a combination of, I want to keep doing research, it's really fun. I want to be that guy. I want to be that teacher. I want to be the guy who teaches psychology and publishes a novel. Uh, and I was also scared of going into the real world. I was really good at school. I wasn't good at school before college, but I was really good at college. I crushed it in undergrad. And so I was like, I want to keep doing this. I love undergrad. I want to keep doing this. So with all of those things combined, I was like, okay, I'm going to go get a PhD because I want to be a lecturer like that guy that I admired so much. And so that's why I ended up going and getting a PhD. So it was never going to be just a master's. Because like if you want to teach at the college level in psychology specifically, and you don't want to, I wanted to teach at the university where I got my undergrad degree. And like if you have if you're at a community college, you can get away with teaching psychology with just a master's. But if you want to go to like a big if you want to teach at not a community college, but like a university in psychology, you either need to be getting a PhD or have a PhD. So I had no choice but to get my PhD. And there were other stupider reasons. Like there were times when I was getting my PhD, where I wanted to drop out. And everybody has those times. Like getting a PhD is very, very hard, It's rough, it takes a long time. You're not making a lot of money. You're probably struggling financially and with your mental health and with a bunch of other stuff. And so what I did, like another reason was, I'm non-binary. And it sucks out there because like there's not really a commonly used equivalent of Mr. or Miss for non-binary people. There's not really a gendered salutation that's commonly accepted and that it exists on most forms and things like that. Like you can call someone Mix, MX, as an honorific for non-binary people, but you can't, that's not on most forms. And so the petty reason that I kept going and pushed through to a PhD was doctor is commonly found on a lot of forms and is a gender neutral honorific, silly as that is. But sometimes all it takes is a silly reason to push through, and I'm really glad I did. A small countryside university that's based in a former mill is some Terry Pratchett type shit now that I think about it. Yes! Yes! I love Terry Pratchett. I wanted to be a novelist. It's easier to tell what you don't want to be. That's true. I have a lot of dreams and goals. It's kind of a problem because I can't focus on any one. You know how shorter journal names are generally more prestigious, i.e. Journal of Radiation Protection and Research is less prestigious than Nature? V Theorem should make a journal called V. It'd dominate. Hell yeah. But the search engine optimization, the SEO on that journal would be miserable. Starting a journal called Redacted. I've been inspired by great teachers and lecturers at some point, though, so I have a long way to go. Yeah, Xenotime. Maybe one day you can also pull it off, and I would love to inspire somebody else, So maybe we can do that. It's a literature studies journal about modern folklore exclusive. I would love to read something like that. Is lecturing in psychology or requiring a PhD a STEM thing? I'm not sure. I suspect that that's a much more common thing in STEM. But I only know about psychology. There is a stage that me and the little angry Korean woman talked about where you want to walk into the woods and lead society of your PhD. Yeah. I mean, I still get that feeling a lot, but I think that's more about like the topic of research that I do than anything else. That's the most badass reason to get a PhD. I love it. I think it was a really stupid reason to get a PhD, but if it's a reason that you care enough to, like, if it's a reason that is important enough for you, I don't think there's really a stupid reason to get a PhD if it's important enough for you. Like, at that point, I was really disillusioned with academia, and I was kind of like, I need to get out, and I'm just going to get an industry job. I'm going to work at, like, some big tech company or something. Which I'm really glad I didn't go down that route, because a lot of my friends who did go down that route have been laid off, because reasons. But, not because they're bad people or bad at their jobs. They are brilliant at their jobs. Just like some areas of tech have been really struggling lately, and they've been laying off a lot of people, unfortunately. So I'm glad I didn't go that route. But like, you can do that with a master's. You don't need a PhD. After a master's, a PhD won't really help you for most of those jobs. Some of them, some industry jobs, yeah, but for most of them, like a PhD in psychology isn't that much different than a master's in psychology to the people hiring. So I was like considering dropping out after my master's, but that is part of what kept me going. I want to be a doctor, have doctor as an honorific, the journal doctor or doctoress. I would cry. At what point is angry Korean woman a cryptid? That's a great question. I think everyone should have the opportunity to become a cryptid if they want to. Honestly, watching V Theorem kind of making me slowly crawl back to university outside of just being a man failure, I guess. So you are contributing it? Oh no! I'm contributing to this academic cycle. I don't know. I like it. Like, I don't think that academia is for everybody. I don't think that academia is for the vast majority of people, but I love academia, and I would love more people to feel comfortable in academia. I think, like, part of why I enjoy teaching so much, there's a lot of reasons that I love my job, and that I love teaching, generally speaking. But part of it is just, like, there aren't a lot of, like, non-binary professors and teachers and stuff like that, especially at, like, the college level. I mean, there are relatively a lot, but, like, you know, like, there are quite a few of us, like, raw numbers wise, but, like, you know, we're not very common. It's the total number of faculty that are non-binary is pretty small. I'm the only one that I know about at my university, but I'm sure that there's more than just me. But, like, it means a lot to some students seeing it, you know? And, like, I think a lot of students have told me, like, I've never seen a non-binary or even, like, a trans professor, and I am that, and it means a lot to me that you are here teaching me. It is so cool to me that you're here teaching me, and if I can just make people feel like this is a thing that they can do, like, if somebody wants to do it and didn't feel like they could before, but then just seeing me doing that thing makes them feel like they can do it and like they can belong in that environment, that's very motivating to me. I hope that I can be that person for some people, and it sounds like I have been, which makes me very, very happy. Languages like German have gender versions of, like, work roles, unfortunately, though it's common to have written shorthand for basically both, like, mechaniker and is for all yeah, like, gendered languages is hard, but, like, you know, that's just, yeah. Watching V Theorem made me more serious in my undergraduate. I'm glad, Aggie. I hope that's a good thing for you. The major stopping thing is just the bureaucracy of applying to uni as an international student and having to redo gen eds. I get that. That's a lot. That is definitely a lot. Like, being an international student sounds kind of miserable, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I mean, I imagine there's a lot of cool experience that you can have as an international student, but all the paperwork involved sounds like a nightmare. I mean, the tenured positions are being sat on like dragons on hordes. I think that's true to an extent, but at least in my department might be different from other departments, maybe, but, like, we're actually seeing people starting to retire in my department. Like, early, like, for a long time, the common sort of thought was that, like, you can only positions in academia as professors only open up when the person who was in them before dies. Everybody just stays in the position until, like, in their job as a tenured professor until they pass away. They never retire. But actually, like, a couple semesters ago, we didn't quite get there, but we had a nearly double-digit number of retirements at the end of a single academic year. Like, I think people are starting to actually retire, which is kind of exciting. But maybe that's just my department, I'm not sure. Fi is behind the scenes pumping his fist at how say so you are right now. Hell yeah! Look at me go, Fi! Are you proud of me? Please be proud of me, Fi! It's also an experience of being the funder of all you citizens. No, I get what you mean, Clee. Like, I didn't have exactly the same experience, but, you know, like, I was an out-of-state student, which means that I was paying double the tuition that my roommate was paying for essentially the same experience, because my roommate was an in-state student. I was an out-of-state student, so my tuition was double, and I think international students pay even more than that, which is ridiculous. Like, I'm nowhere near international student. I'm just doing international internship, and holy balls, did I have to do a stupid amount of paperwork, though a lot of this was specific to Germany. I mean, like, hearing about what the international students go through is so much. I started to think of the amount of paperwork and yeah, like, and international grad students in particular, because they're also working as like TAs and stuff, so that's an additional like working visa and like, oh man. And like there's additional requirements and restrictions on like there's a more pressure on international students because I think like it, domestic students don't have as many restrictions on how many years they can be in a grad program. Like there's some restrictions, of course. Like different programs have different like maximum amount of time it can take you to get a degree and stuff like that. But for international grad students, and I think this is even becoming stricter, like the grad student visa, I think, is something like only 5 years or something. Like you can only be sure that you get 5 years as an international student. And I think you can like go longer than that, but like it's a lot stricter. And I think that's a lot scarier because the median amount of time it takes to get a PhD in the program that I was in is about 6 to 7 years, like 6.5 years, I'd say, which is obviously more than 5 years. So that's scary. Out-of-state students and state students' roommates unite in our pain. Yeah, well, there is a benefit to this time, depending. I benefited from my roommate being in-state because my roommate would go home on weekends, which meant that I would have the dorm room all to myself for 2 days out of the week, which was absolutely incredible. So that was a great benefit. Fun fact about the UK system as well. UK, EU, non-EU students paid zero, under 1,000, several dozen thousand a year for a degree at my uni. Ouch. Ouch. That's rough. Here in Germany, we have way too much paperwork. Paperwork makes me cry. I know why it exists, but I think, like, some places have gotten a bit too over-enthusiastic about paperwork. I spent several months fighting my university to send a letter to, oh god, I'm scared to try and read that. Bundessagunter für Arbeit to get work permit. And eventually I ended up getting it from a totally different uni I didn't even go to. That's ridiculous. Also, a person I know got rejected F1 after getting partial scholarship, which is depressing. That is very depressing. It's been really rough for international students for the past, like, while. 7 months or so. Like, things have gotten really scary there. I've heard a lot of, like, actually any grad students in the US, like, there's a lot of tales on Reddit and stuff I saw of people, like, getting accepted into PhD programs and then getting the offer rescinded because of funding. Yeah, that didn't happen much for me. Paperwork, Germany, who would have thought? For the past Czech selection cycle. Oops. On the final forms they asked was uni I was getting grant money from, and I just put university so she was a mess. Somehow they were fine with that. This reminds me of when I was going to Japan for the first time. Bless you, thank you. I'm not 100% recovered from my cold, unfortunately. When I went to Japan for the first time, actually, my friend had arranged most of the trip. Bless you, friend, for doing that. Thank you. But I was going through customs, and one of the things customs makes you answer on your paperwork for entering the country is where are you going to be staying while you're in Japan? And she hadn't told me the name of the hotel we were staying at. I didn't know. I was so stressed out because, customs is a line and it's a long line and the person is staring at you and you're just sweating. And I thought I vaguely remembered the name of where we were staying, so I ended up putting, like, Sakura Hotel, which was not the name of where we were staying. It was close enough, but, like, it was not the correct name, and I was sweating so hard, but luckily they accepted it. So, like, I feel you, Xenotime. Like, it was a very stressful moment. Unbless you, curse you. Klee, as a cryptid, that only gives me more power, so thank you. Both, I'm not demonic, and therefore blessings work on me, but I'm also not, like, what hotel are you staying at? Love Hotel? No. I did not stay at a Love Hotel. I wouldn't be able to stay at a love hotel, I don't think. Like, one thing about Japan is, like, I've seen pictures of love hotel rooms because cosplayers will sometimes use love hotels as, like, photo shoot locations. Because they get really creative with the room decorations. Like, they look really kind of cool, but I don't think I'd ever be able to, like, even go into a love hotel or even, like, stand outside of a love hotel. I don't think, like, my sense of shame would be able to handle even being within the vicinity of one. As curious as I am to see what some of those rooms look like they have crazy decorations in some of them. But yeah, I could. It almost feels like looking at theme park themed rooms. Like how like sometimes like hotels or like Disney hotels will have like the Mickey suite or something with crazy decorations. That's kind of what like the pictures of love hotel rooms I've seen give the vibes of. But yeah, I could never go near one. I would die. Hey, Astral! Oh, good job being locked in. There are enough YouTube videos touring the cool ones where you don't need to go into. Yeah! Yeah, I need to watch some of those. Turns out I would never turn on the black light in a normal hotel room, much less a love hotel. I don't want to know. Eventually, I managed to get a Belgian one, which can receive SEPA European bank transfers, which is a mess, and I can't actually convert. That sounds like a mess to get. Like, an international bank account sounds like that. The first words I hear are love hotels. I was doing so well. I was doing so well. Oh. SIPA. Ah, I see. SIPA. All right. Listen, we were talking about a time, the first time I went to Japan, and I didn't know the name of the hotel I was staying in, and I was stressed out. Hmm. The vents are done. What vents? We are very say-so for sure. I am so say-so. I am incredibly say-so. I am the most say-so. I am so powerful. I don't even read out the swears that y'all say in chat most of the time. I am pure as fallen snow. I am the strongest, most powerful person in the world. I don't know what I'm talking about. Every time I call the people to fix my account, they don't fix it, they just manually approve that one transfer. That is such a pain in the butt. Fallen snow near a tire factory? Excuse me! Excuse me, Clee. When have I ever? When have I ever? What are you talking about, Astral? That sounds... What are you talking about? What? I'm being bullied. I did not stay at a love hotel. I've never been to a love hotel. I've never. Nope. Why does this sound like I'm like being a weird and being like especially denied? I legitimately, I don't think I've ever even seen a love hotel, which is kind of surprising because I've wandered around Tokyo a lot. All will be revealed later. You did have to police my language from working with the military? Oh no. I think I'm careful about my language because I for a while I worked at a summer camp with a lot of like young kids and we weren't allowed to swear at all or use any even remotely questionable language, and that was a long time ago, but I'm still like weirdly careful about it when I'm on stream. Oddly enough, when I'm lecturing in person, I just swear a blue streak constantly. But for some reason on stream, I'm more careful about it, and I can't explain why. It's not even a conscious thing that I'm doing. Very strange, very strange. I swear like I breathe normally. I don't know what's going on. I'm not say-so outside of streams. I don't know. It depends on your definition of say-so. If say-so includes not swearing, I'm a disaster. I do need to remember to act Gaussian when I get... What does Gaussian have to do with any of this? You don't want any of us to have proof of you being unsay-so. You know, recently Astral asked to use some of my stream audio for something, and now I'm getting really nervous. I'm getting really nervous about what that could possibly be. I don't like the sound of this anymore. I'm anxious. Don't worry about it. Aggie, are you involved in this? Aggie? Astral? I see a lot of heart reacts, and that's not helping. That's not making me any calmer. Switching the topic. Well, I don't have any other questions in the Q&A form. What could we possibly talk about? What should we talk about? What is a good topic? What's another topic? Mr. Kitty. Mr. Kitty's very smart. Mr. Kitty's very kind and smart. He woke me up last night. I woke him up last night, actually. I turned the tables on the poor cat. I woke up in the middle of the night because I was feeling sick. I had a headache, and I woke up to go get myself some pain meds, and I walked out, and I actually got to see Mr. Kitty groggy, which was incredibly cute. I should stop talking about Mr. Kitty because I have to pay the cat tax eventually. The heart reacts are because you said you lived in a love hotel. I did not say that! See, no time to stop! Explain the fate canon. Oh, Cleet, yeah, I'm coming. I'm coming for you. I'm coming for you. You better run. You better run. I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna attack. Alright, 12 attacks. Explain the fate canon. Alright, I can do that. I can do that. No, stop. Okay. So. What part of where should I start with the fate canon? So the fate canon is, Astral, please. Xena, please. 12-hour stream? Possibly. Possibly. I'm not as, why not, Klee? Are you afraid? I can talk about the Fate canon. So Fate started with Fate's Day Night, which was a visual novel that was released by Type Moon. Nasu is the main scenario writer for Fate's Day Night. It has 3 routes. One route is called the Fate route, which is, there are 3, well, there's supposed to be originally 4 routes, but there ended up being 3 at the end of it. Do Tsukihime too? I don't know enough about Tsukihime, unfortunately, to start explaining Tsukihime. I could do FGO as well, certainly. So, alright, so in the Fate universe, there are mages, and mages do magecraft, which is distinct from magic. Magic is like on the level of like miracles and stuff and creating something from nothing. Magecraft is at a lower level. It can't do quite as much as magic. Now, back in the day, when there was a lot of mystery, and mystery is a term in the Type Moon universe, the Nasuverse, mysteries like basically how much things that we don't understand in the world, and the more mystery there is in the world, the easier it is to do things like use magic and for like things like literal gods and deities to exist and to perform superhuman feats. But the more we understand the world, the more science advances, the more we've explained to the world, the less mystery there is, and the harder it becomes to use magic, and magic has become essentially impossible to use in the modern age. And it also becomes harder to use magecraft, but we can, like, mages can still use magecraft, but they can't really use magic. Now, there are several types of magics. There's like, what is it, 6 magics or something like that? And magic, you can only use magic in the modern day if you're able to access something called the root, which is the root of all knowledge. Essentially, it's called Akasha. It's basically, if a mage can access Akasha, they are able to use true magic, which can accomplish various things. It allows, like, universe hopping. One type of magic allows for universe hopping and drawing power from, I think, 5 with Aoko. That could be true. Yeah, I don't remember the exact number. Another universe, or another one of the true magics allows you to essentially manipulate the soul, like transplant your soul from body to body. And there are various types of magics, and the goal of many mages is to access the root so that they can acquire true magic. One type of true magic. The thing is, it's hard to access the root. Once you find a method to access the root, And that method becomes inaccessible for anyone else. So there's a rapidly dwindling number of ways that you can access the root. Third magic, that's Heaven's Feel, right? Heaven's Feel, the third magic, is the one that allows you to, say, transplant souls from body to body. And essentially, it's a method of becoming immortal, more or less. Like, you can use it for other things, but some people seek it out for immortality. Now, there were three mage families that were trying to access the root. Oh, so like anywhere in the world, if someone finds it, it's gone? Pretty much. Ways to access the root aren't like physical pathways. They're more like methodologies. They're techniques that you can use to access the root. I know nothing about Warhammer. I couldn't do that. I'm trying to figure out if I should keep going with this. This started out as a bit, but now I just kind of want to info dump about Fate. Anyway, okay, so there's three big families in this place called Fuyuki, Japan. One of them is the Einsbarns. They are originally from Hi Frost, welcome! I'm explaining Fate right now. I'm not gonna do contemporary US politics, don't worry about it. I'm not gonna do that. I could talk about that from a psychological perspective, but I'm not going to do that either. Maybe one day. Right, so there's the Einsbarns. They are a family of mages that specialize in creating homunculi, which are artificial living beings that often look like humans and have very powerful magic circuits, but do not have a very long lifespan at all. They want to reach the roots and achieve the third magic, Heaven's Feel. And then there is the Tosakas, where Rin, who's a famous Fate character, comes from. They also want to access the root. And then there's the Makuris. Zogen Makuri is one of the members of the Makuris. I believe Zogen, way back in the day, was actually in Europe, but he moved to Japan, and that's where Sakura comes from. She has been adopted by the Makuri family, which is now the Mato family, by the way. They changed their name to the Matos. And these three families all worked together to create a ritual that they believed would lead them to the root. This was going to be their method of accessing the root. Now, I think you're confusing the Matos. The Matos is like the modern name, but I think, yes, this is actually interesting to learn about because I watched Zero most of Say Night ago. That's it. Nice. Was it in Europe or is it generically Europe? I think the Einsbarns were in Germany, I think. I don't remember where Zolgan was. I'm trying to remember if this is the exact right name. Yeah, Makiri Zolgan was his original name, who changed his name to Mato Zoken. Yeah, I think basically, because he wasn't super powerful, he wasn't able to achieve true immortality, but he did become semi-immortal, and I think part of changing his name from Makiri Zolgan to Mato Zoken was sort of like hiding the fact that he was really like 200 years old or whatever, or 300 years old, or 400 or 500 years old. So he changed his name partially to hide the fact that he, well, not immortal, is very, 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 very old. I think that was part of it. Anyway, they came together to create a method to access the root so they could achieve true magic, which is most mages' goal. All of them had slightly different reasons for it. I think the Einsbarns part of it was like working with homunculi, so being able to manipulate souls and transplant souls would be useful for that. The Matos or Makuris, part of it was because Zolgan or Zoken wanted to achieve essentially true immortality. He had sort of like a false type of immortality that wasn't going to last forever and was very inconvenient. He wanted to achieve true immortality, and to do that, manipulating the soul and being able to transplant it into different bodies without losing any information or bits of the soul was very important to him. And the Tolsakas are more like they're just true mages. They just really want to reach the root for the sake of reaching the root and knowledge and things like that. They're more like pure academics. They just want to, they're essentially doing basic research. They want to learn things for the sake of learning things, not for the sake of, not for any like practical applied goal, but for like a more pure academic goal. Nerds derogatory. Not forever immortality, also known as not immortality. Yeah, pretty much. Especially, oh gosh, I think that since I love that region, oh, maybe Xenotime. I don't know exactly. I know that the Einsburns live in an area that's very cold and wintry, and I think it's kind of up in the mountains. It's pretty isolated. But anyway, these three families come together to create a ritual that they think will allow them to access the root. And they try this, they iterate on this a bunch of times over various generations. But the method they decide on is to essentially, there's this thing called the counterforce. Okay, so there's this thing called the counterforce. The counterforce is cold, isolated, time to move. They're only me, a dog I'm gonna adopt in as an Amazon Prime. Oh boy. Anyway, okay. So they decide to do this in a small town in Japan called Fuyuki, because Fuyuki is positioned on ley lines, which are like essentially they're these natural formations where a lot of like mana and magical power is running through the land, and Fuyuki happens to be at a great spot that's like a lot of strong ley lines are converging around there, so there's a lot of magical power there, or you know, magecrafty power. There's a lot of mana in the area. And they think this will help them access the root. And the ritual that they decide to do, they come up with this thing called, they create a vessel to hold a whole bunch of power that should allow them to perform a ritual to access the root, called the Holy Grail. The stream title is very ironic, considering the topic. I don't remember, ask a psychologist. I mean, you did ask a psychologist to explain this to you, and it is within my realm of knowledge, not as a psychologist, but as a giant freaking nerd. And therefore, I think that this is a totally valid thing for me to do. Is it very mountainous? Could it be Austria or Switzerland? That's also possible. I don't know exactly, but it's possible. It's possible. Right. So, they create this thing called the Holy Grail. It's not actually the Holy Grail. They're calling it the Holy Grail, but it's not like the biblical Holy Grail or anything like that. And there are two types of grail that are involved in this ritual. There's the lesser grail, which takes the form of a cup, and the greater grail, which is sort of like this giant magical reactor, essentially. And the lesser grail is kind of like it's almost like a, I don't know how to put it. There's a word for it. It's like it's a port or a terminal for the greater grail, I guess, is a kind of way of putting it. And the idea is they've got to fill up this greater grail with a whole bunch of magical energy or mana, so they can access the root. But where are they going to get that magical energy? Because they are just human beings in an era of low mystery. Where are they going to get it? So there's a thing called the counterforce, and its whole purpose is to sort of, it's split into two pieces. One piece protects the world, the other piece protects humanity, I believe. But its purpose is generally to protect the world and humanity, human history, all that kind of stuff. I believe it's somewhat related to the root. And there are guardians of the counterforce that help the counterforce protect the world. And these guardians of the counterforce, some of them are like just random humans that were sort of contracted to work for the counterforce after they died. Others are famous figures from mythology, from history, that kind of thing. And those are heroic spirits. Heroic spirits are tools of that the counterforce can use to protect the world and keep things in line. Low mystery, also known as Why Am I Not High Yet? Oh no! Okay, so they can use this force to protect the world, and the thing is, these heroic spirits have a lot of magical energy. So the counterforce summons these things. They have a lot of magical energy, and when they die, they essentially release all this magical energy. So the idea was you create a ritual where you summon these heroic spirits, and then use these heroic spirits to fill up the greater grail so you can perform this ritual so you can achieve true magic. That was the idea. They try this a couple of ways. They have a fair number of attempts. There's like the first Holy Grail war. Essentially, they eventually land on the idea that they have to have a war where they summon 7 heroic spirits as servants. Servants are kind of like a depowered form of a heroic spirit. They like take one aspect of the heroic spirit, like this person as a politician, or this person as a warrior, or this person as a creative. It's only like a part or like one aspect of this heroic spirit. And they're summoned into a class container. So it's kind of like a depowered form of them. You've got Saber, Lancer, Archer. Sabers usually use swords. Archers use some form of projectile, not necessarily a bow and arrow, but theoretically they use some sort of form of projectile. If some benevolent streamer raids and don't acknowledge it, finish talking, go, anyway, so now that I've retold you my PhD thesis, yes, I did my thesis on Fate. I would love to do something related, a study related to Fate. I don't know how I could do that, though. But people have done it with Pokemon. They've done psych studies on Pokemon, so I could do a study on Fate, surely. Getting participants would be hard, though. An adequate number. No, actually, I'm pretty good at, like, snowball sampling and stuff. I bet I could get an adequate number of participants, of Fate fans. I'd have to use non-traditional means and snowball sampling, so it would be a biased sample, but I bet I could do it. I just have to come up with a study. By the way, I'm gonna keep doing this. I'm gonna keep explaining Fate to you until, like, somebody adequately picks a different topic, or I get another question in the Q&A. This is what your VTuber audience is for. Half of us are weeps. This was your plan all along. Okay. It's too bad Michael's not here. Michael always wants me to do stuff related to Fate, and now I'm finally explaining Fate as a whole, and he's not here. I can fall asleep to this? Good. Mylin explains Fate, ASMR. Alright, so. Right. So, it's 4 a.m. Annie, sleep! Annie, please sleep. But yeah, if any of you want to submit any type of questions, you can use the QR code on the stream, or there's a link in the pinned comment to a Google form where you can ask various questions about whatever you want. But until then, I'm going to keep explaining Fate. So, okay. The first 2 Grail Wars, they fail. They are unable to complete the ritual. Or right, no. They conclude that the most efficient way to summon these heroic spirits and then turn them into mana. I sat here making really placeholder images and listening like a lore podcast. Nice. Yeah, but yeah, they determined that the most efficient way to do this is... Oh, I got a question! I'll explain later. Okay. First, I will answer this question, and then I will explain. So, hey, Pleeker. Hello, Pleeker. Why burb? That's a great question. So there's a lot of reasons how I became like this, why my physical form looks the way that it does. Maybe I should switch to my other model so I become even more burb. But, here we go. Oops. Alright. There's a lot of reasons that my model looks like this, but the short reason is I wanted to be a Mothman. I wanted to be a Mothman. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted a model based on Mothman, and I had been reading an encyclopedia of cryptids. I have a bunch of books that are just like, you know, lists of different cryptids, and I was a big fan of Mothman. And what I did was... Oh gosh, I'm sorry, Astral, that was my bad. You could do a study that has to do with Gentium lore and expected immersion into fandom. That would be fun, yeah. Alright, what was I talking about? Right, I wanted to be Mothman, and I've just been reading this book. It was an encyclopedia of cryptids in North America, and Mothman was one of them, of course, and I'd read the Mothman entry, and it turns out most sightings of Mothman are generally explained. It's thought that people were actually seeing either a large owl or something like a sandhill crane or something like that, so it's thought that Mothman was actually a bird. The general hypothesis of what Mothman is that Mothman was actually a large bird, just flying around, chilling. And I was sitting in a job talk. So in academia, there's these things called job talks. It's part of a job interview for like professor positions or research-based positions. What happens is you go to the university that you're applying to work at, and you do a talk. You present your research and stuff like that. And I was sitting in a job talk, and honestly, I was kind of bored. I was fairly bored in this job talk, and even if I wasn't bored, a thing that I just do is I doodle. I doodle to pass the time. That's what I do. And so I was like, oh, what if I just made anthropomorphic personifications of various cryptids? Basically, humanoid versions of various cryptids, or human-ish versions of various cryptids. I was like, okay, let's do this. And so I made one for Mothman. And it ended up looking a bit like my original model. Let me show off my original model again. I gave the original model design, but I wanted to be a Mothman VTuber. I had already had sort of an anthropomorphic personification of Mothman design based on the idea that sightings of Mothman were sightings of a bird. That's why Burb. That's why Burb. It's based on the theory that sightings of Mothman were a bird. Show feet? No. Yeah, but this, I did the character design for this model, but the actual, like, art and rigging was done by Lily Lyrical. Lily Lyrical. Mm-hmm. My new models, though, of course, are all drawn and rigged by me, myself. I'm going back to my Nightcrawler model. But that's why Burb. That is why Burb. I hope that answered the question. Let's come back. There we go. I'm back. There we go. I've successfully answered a question. Let's see. Maybe about what communities and their makeup and Fate Kingdom. That could be onboarding pipelines to various fandoms, like especially ones where it's not clear where the starting point for it is. There's a book that touches on it if I can remember the name. Ooh, I'd love to read that. What do you use for tracking? I can see the mouth not closing completely when you talk. Yeah. My, oh no. Sorry, Clee. For tracking, I don't have good tracking. And that's on me. I'm just using a webcam for tracking, and it's a pretty nice webcam. It's better than the webcam I was using when I started, which was just the webcam inbuilt in my laptop. But part of my problem is I'm using just plain webcam and VTube Studio for tracking. I'm not using anything special like Psy does. And also, I don't have good lighting. I'm usually, when I'm streaming, like, if it's during the daytime, my window is behind me. So I'm backlit. Like, I close the blinds when I'm streaming, so that I'm not terribly backlit, but I'm still backlit. I do have a lamp off to the side, but my face tracking is never going to be great, because I'm not using any special face tracking. I'm not using my phone for face tracking, which does better for face tracking. I'm not using anything special, like V-Bridge or anything. I'm just using a webcam. iPhone probably would deal with that a bit better, and my tracking does look nicer when I use my phone, but a lot of the time I'm just too lazy to set that up, to be honest. I don't like having my phone hooked up to my computer and all set up like that. I wonder if I could... Hey, your tracking is a lot better than mine when I was doing it from chemistry in a dorm room windows. That's good, at least. I will set up Throne so you can fund my iPhone. No! I have an iPhone already. It's an old iPhone. It's a pain. I've been trying to beat the E. Olga Marie 4 quest in Fate Grand Order, but my phone keeps crashing because it's an old phone and it can't handle all the animations all that well. Second iPhone? No, I don't. I recently got the battery replaced on mine, so I feel like I can't justify replacing my phone right now, even if it is pretty old. I hope so, Xenotime. That would be good. Yeah, as much as I'd like a new phone, I cannot justify buying a new phone when mine is largely working perfectly well. You know? Especially after I just dropped like $80 to replace the battery. I'm not so rich that I can afford to just drop $80 and then immediately just stop using that phone. Right, where was I on Fate? I don't have any more questions, so I get to keep talking about Fate now. Right, okay. So they decide the most efficient way to get the magical energy, or the mana, or whatever... There's, like, different names for things. they decide that the most efficient way to get the energy out of these heroic spirits is essentially to kill the heroic spirits. And the thing is, heroic spirits are incredibly powerful. They are way strong. Even the weakest heroic spirit is more powerful than the strongest human being. They have, like, insane magical powers, or, well, you know, like mana-y powers. Some of them magical powers. So they decide the best way to do this, because a lot of heroic spirits, once summoned, don't necessarily want to disappear and be turned into pure mana. They decide the best way to do this is a fight to the death. So they create this thing called the Holy Grail War. And the idea is they only really need 6 heroic spirits, or 6 servants in this case, these powered down versions. They only need 6 servants to actually power the Grail. But they have 7 for this ritual. So they create this fight to the death where you have a master who is the mage who's in charge of the servant, and the servant, who is the heroic spirit that's doing all the fighting. So they have 7 teams, 1 master and 1 servant per team. These teams are fighting each other to try and get the Holy Grail. The last team alive, or the team with the last servant alive, is the one that can win the Holy Grail. And because the first thing that they will achieve, if this is the case, is that they will be able to access true magic, theoretically, if the ritual succeeds. They'll be able to access true magic. And then the other thought is that there should be some power left over to grant some sort of wish for the master or the servant. They kind of make it like both the master and the servant get a wish, is kind of what they tell the servant, but really it's like one of them gets the wish, and it's probably going to be the master. Because the master has these things called command spells, which allow them to give the servant the magic the servant needs to stay manifested in the world, but also it allows them to give orders to the servant that the servant cannot disobey. 3 times. They can do this 3 times. If they use up all the command spells, there's a real risk that the servant will go rogue, because, you know, they have their own personalities, their own goals and things like that, and, you know, they may or may not have any loyalty whatsoever to the person that summoned them. So the goal is the masters will fight, the servants will fight, sort of a proxy war for the masters. 1 team will win, and eventually, and then that team will get a wish, and they'll be able to access true magic, and that's the Makiri, the Tosaka, and the Einsburns method of accessing the root and achieving true magic. Hi, Komi Veladonna, welcome, welcome. I ran out, oh, I got another question. Clee, I'm not answering that question. I have a right to veto questions, and I'm not going to answer that question. Actually, no, maybe I should answer that question. I can't convince myself to buy anything. I've literally never bought myself clothes because I'm wearing them down until my family goes, okay, we're buying you new clothes. I was like that until I got to a point where my family was no longer buying me clothes because I was an adult. Relates otaku culture to postmodernism. Ooh, that sounds fun. I wish there was an interesting question that has something to do with societal tendencies in the modern world waiting for Mylan to answer, but instead they're talking about fate. Well, that sounds like a you problem, Clee. That sounds like a you problem, Clee, because I'm suspecting this person in the form that asked this most recent question that is definitely not about societal tendencies in the modern world might be you. But you know what? I'm going to answer it. I'm going to answer this question. I'm going to do it. The question is, why feet? That's the question. And I'm going to answer that. I'm going to answer that question. I will tell you the lore of the feet joke. And hopefully in doing so, Astral get to clipping. Okay, here's the lore. Here's the lore. Here's how this happened. Here's how my life was destroyed. Once upon a time, there was a VTuber named Psychologist, also known as Aikman M. Lore, we fabricated everything. That's exactly it, Alex. That's the short version. Y'all fabricated it. So once upon a time, there was a VTuber named Dr. Aikman, later known as Mylan. And this VTuber found a really cool group of academic VTubers called V-Theorem. And at the time, there was only 3 members of this group. There was Phi, who does biology, microbiology and things like that. There was Nepenthes VT, or Nep, who does botany and things like that. And then there was Sidary, who does psychology content and meta-science content and games. And Mylan thought this was a really cool group. And Mylan wanted to join this group. And fortunately, just about a couple of months after Mylan discovered this group opened auditions. And Mylan was like, this is awesome, I'm gonna audition. And Mylan was so happy because they passed the audition. They were delighted, and they got to join V-Theorem as part of Generation 1.5. God. And the other member of Generation 1.5, this is irrelevant to the story, but the other member of Generation 1.5 is Z, Syzygy Altair, also known as Z. I know you just being Psy with a 12-pack of cookies. Oh no. I want cookies. I want some cookies. I should have bought some cookies earlier when I was out. Boo. Anyway. Z is not irrelevant. Z is just not implicated in this story. Z has no fault in what ensued. This is only on chat and also maybe my poor decisions and anxiety. So anyway, we debuted. Z and I, Mylan, we debuted as Generation 1.5 of V-Theorem. And part of that debut, I'm not more important than Z. If anything, Z is more important than me. I think I'm like the least important member of V-Theorem. At least as a content creator. Like, for like art and stuff, I'd say I'm, not to toot my own horn, I think I'm the most important member of V-Theorem in terms of art. Not to toot my own horn or anything. At least in terms of my art affecting multiple members of V-Theorem. Like, we have some really awesome artists involved with V-Theorem, like Toxo, who is Vi's wife, and then Nep does some really cool traditional art. I love Nep's traditional art. It's super cool. You should definitely check it out on her Twitch, which one day I will have things set up so I can link it more easily. Yeah. And Z and Astral does some fun art. Eggy does some really cool art over at Z's channel. And Sai has drawn most of her own emotes that are really cute. But anyway, where was I? Yeah, someone's not applying their statistical knowledge to beating the algorithms. That's true. I am not trying to game the algorithm. I'm not doing the algorithm-y things. I'm just vibing. I'm just chilling. I'm not taking the steps that I need to grow. And part of that might be because I said that I'd open a I didn't promise, mind you. I never promised, but I said I might open the Discord server if I got 500 subs, and we're getting closer to that number, and I don't want that number to come very soon, if at all, and because I don't want to open a Discord server because I'm scared and I have severe social anxiety, and therefore I'm not actively advertising myself or trying to grow. Okay, I missed anything since you said I'm the most important member of V-Theorem, but no, Astro, no! I am the least important member of V-Theorem! I am the least important member of V-Theorem! Oh, I believe in you, Klee. I believe in you. You can always take the Discord thingy back. I've never guaranteed that I was gonna make the Discord thing. It's fine! No! No. I never said that. I never, no. I'm the least important member. No, I never. No! I do a lot more behind the scenes than I ever do on stream, okay? No. I'm the moth important member of V-Theorem. Yeah, I'll take that. I'm the moth one. YouTube has no raids, don't worry. No chance of 5k souls popping into that water. I know, Kobe, thank goodness. If that happened to me instead of Sai, I would have... I don't know. I would have blue screened. You and content creators are impervious to, oh, you changed my mind about the most banal things. So you're calling yourself the back... I'm not! Phi is the backbone of V theorem. If anyone is the backbone of V theorem, it's Phi. Kobe Bellum. Backbone. The chance might be small, but oh my god, it's true. Content creators do be like, yeah, no, I never guaranteed. Every time I say I'll make a Discord at 500, I'm the meeting organizer, not the backbone. I think the meeting organizer is the backbone. Violet is the PI of V theorem. I'm not the PI of V theorem. I am the administrative assistant of V theorem. I am the administrative assistant of V theorem. I do the meeting minutes, and I pretty consistently attend every meeting, but I do the meeting minutes. Meeting minutes. Yeah, I'm so powerful when it comes to meeting minutes. It's true. It's true. The only one keeping the unsafe force from ripping the structure apart. I wish. I wish, but I'm willing to acknowledge that that is not true. She did handle it well. Sai handled it incredibly well. It was really cool. Wait, what was I? Phylum at V Theorem Secretary General. It's true. I will accept that label. Right, I do have 3 Gmail accounts and you can make several. Clee, please. Where were we? I was explaining. Oh, Clee, Astral. Definitely Astral. So probably not Astral. Probably Clee has said how feet, where feet, who feet, what feet, when feet. I don't know. Okay, maybe the lab manager can make sure nobody. Yeah. Maybe I'm V Theorem's lab manager. I'll take that. Astral, I hate you. I hate you so much, Astral. Mind you, this is not, I'm not being serious when I say I hate you, Astral, but unseriously, I hate you. Very unseriously, I hate you. I'm not serious at all when I say I despise you, but I'm saying it anyway. Right, anyway, so it was the 2.0 debut, or not the 2.0, it was the Gen 1.5 debut for V Theorem. And we had slides introducing them ourselves, and on one of the slides I had a picture that was like my full body model for my primary model, my Mothman model. And let me tell you, I've been drawing for most of my life. I love to draw, and I've been drawing for most of my life. And you know how, what's the thing that everybody says drawing is hard? Like, when people will complain about a certain part of, drawing a certain part of the body is hard, what part do they complain about? I think you probably know the answer. Like, what do you think is the hardest part of the body to draw? Most people, I watched the V Theorem 1.5 review, hands, feet and hands, hands and feet, hands, right? Hands is the obvious answer. Hands is the obvious answer. But honestly, like, I've gotten decent at drawing hands. Because hands are hard to draw, I practice them a lot, right? I've practiced drawing hands a lot, so drawing hands is not as hard for me as it used to be. Drawing hands is no longer my enemy. I can draw hands if I need to. I don't fear drawing hands anymore, because I've practiced. The true enemy is feet and shoes. I hate drawing feet and shoes. They are very difficult to draw. Mylan has graduated from drawing hands to throwing hands. Yes. But it is very, very difficult to draw feet and shoes. It is really, really hard. And like, if you ask anyone who spends a lot of time drawing, like if you ask somebody who does a lot of art, specifically drawing humans and humanoid things, they will probably agree with me. Like, every art person I've talked to agrees with me that like the secret final boss of drawing the human body is drawing feet. Feet are really hard to draw. Shoes are really hard to draw. And I despise drawing feet. I despise drawing shoes. I really struggle with both of those things. Drawing feet is your enemy because no, that is not why. Eggy, that's why I only limit myself to chibi. Even drawing chibis though, you're not free from feet. You still have to draw them if you're like, wait, is that why the model? Yes, that's one of the reasons why this model does not have any feet, just spikes. I was able to avoid drawing feet and shoes because I just didn't give this model any feet or shoes. That's enemies to no. No, enemies to worse enemies. So I hate drawing feet, and I'm not very good at it. But on the Mothman model, I tried really hard. And like, especially bird feet. Like, bird feet are really difficult to draw. And the thing about bird feet is, like, human feet, I at least have more practice drawing that, because I draw a lot of humans, you know? I draw a lot of humans, so, like, I've practiced more drawing human feet, even though I hate drawing them. But bird feet, both, they're hard to draw, and also I had very limited practice drawing them. And I was really, really happy. No, please. But I was really, really, really happy with how the bird feet on that model came out. My VTuber model's bird feet. It's easier than human feet. Eggy, good for you. Not for me. Not for me. It was really hard. But I was really happy with how those feet came out, because I have a really hard time drawing feet, human or bird, and I was really happy with how they came out. And of course, during a debut, you're nervous. Like, it was like the debut had more people watching on my channel than I'd ever had before. And then there were also a lot of people watching on Z's channel. So like the viewership was really high for me. And I was nervous. I was very nervous because, like I said, I'm very anxious. I'm very anxious. I'm socially anxious. And so I was like nervous. I hadn't really figured out what I was going to say. And like, I was just kind of speaking off the cuff, and I like, it showed the picture of my full model, and I was really, really proud of how I had drawn those bird feet. And so I said, oh, and there's my model, and there's my feet. They're wonderful. Or like, I look at my lovely feet, because I was really proud of how the drawing of the feet had come out. But of course, with VTubers, that's not a drawing, that's you, right? With the model. With the model. Like, models, we treat this as, this is my true appearance. And therefore, it sounded like I was saying I loved my own feet, instead of I love how I'm really happy with how this drawing came out. My bird feet are spectacular. Thank you. I'm very happy with how I drew them. I think I did a good job drawing them. And then, of course, people interpreted that as, I love my feet, which is not the case. I feel like a normal person about my feet. I have no particular feelings about my own feet. They're there. They're a part of my body. They exist, you know? I have no particular feelings one way or the other about my own feet, and I hate drawing feet. But I was happy with how those feet came out. But of course, you know, people interpret it as, I love feet. And now I, as you have probably gathered, I'm very easy to bully. I'm very easy to bully. I'm very easy to tease. There is something about me, and this has been true for most of my life. There's ever since like middle school or so, I give off an aura. I give off an aura that just screams, I am a pushover. You can mess with me and nothing. Bullyable phenotype. That's exactly it, Fi. I have a bullyable phenotype. It is very easy to bully me. And unfortunately, when people suggest that I like feet or something weird like that, I get very indignant about it. And I cannot help myself but like react, like vehemently deny it. I cannot stop myself from vehemently denying it. And unfortunately, of course, that combined with my bullyable phenotype encourages people. It becomes highly entertaining for people to bring this up and me have an extreme reaction to it. Or rather, I think you roll with the bullying in a fun way, bullyable phenotype. I'm trying to roll with it in a fun way because I acknowledge that it's very fun for all of you. I acknowledge that it's a very fun thing for all of you, and it's not causing any actual harm. And therefore, I do my best to roll with it. I do, like, I've joked about, like, banning the word feet in chat. I've, like, and to some extent, I do exaggerate my reactions. It's the please don't perceive me. I have survival instincts of a bug infested with parasites and that make it want to get eaten. Yeah, that's me. That's me. Like, also I know that if I actually, like, demonstrate that I really, really am deeply uncomfortable with the feet thing, if I pull that in the wrong way, that'll only encourage people more. There's a delicate balance here, but I think for now, it doesn't upset me so much. And, like, I have some wonderful people in this community, so, like, some wonderful people in chat have actually asked me, like, hey, are you uncomfortable with the feet thing? Do you want me to stop? And I cannot express how much that means to me. That means a whole lot to me. You should make a model of a soul to kill the joke. I think if you want to keep the joke going, there's a balance to it. You can't like completely crush the joke. And I've been leaning a bit more towards that by just not acknowledging it as much lately, but you can't completely crush the joke, but you also can't lean fully into it anymore, because then it becomes less fun, right? It becomes less fun if I'm not like... Is it like Fate you were saying you just can manipulate souls? Not that kind of soul. I try not to bully them off. Adventure Time model of a foot. Help! I fail. I know, right? I'm like a siren. Like, there's something about me that just says, bully me. Like, it is almost irresistible. It is almost irresistible. People just want to bully me. There's something about me. Hi, Elias! Welcome! Hello, I saw you on my front page. I'm excited to see someone else doing research psychology VTubing. Welcome! You came in at a weird time. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry, my only working source of humor is bad puns. Understandable, Xeno Time, I forgive you. Anyway, yeah, that's why feet. That's the story. I'm sorry, Elias. Welcome. I would be happy to talk about psychology if somebody would ask me about psychology. The psychology of feet? I don't know anything about the psychology of feet. I'm sorry. Whoa, front page. You're right. Oh my gosh, I'm on the front page, everyone. Dismissive and bullyable. I am very... I guess I was kind of talking about psychology related to the whole feet joke, because I was talking about, like, the balance of... Please don't put me on the front page of New York Times. If I got that much attention, I might cry and collapse. I'd die. I'd simply perish. But yeah, I mean, there's a certain psychology to, like, the balance of how streamers engage their audiences by pretending that they are more upset by a running joke than they actually are. And that it is a very delicate balance if you want to keep people engaged, but also not lean into it so hard that, you know, Mylan not on the front page of the New York Times and happily content with it. Yeah! You can't rate on gets rated by YouTube. I'm interested in researching psychology in the field of video games, and I wasn't sure how popular the concept was, so it makes me happy to know that someone else is interested. Yes! The psychology of video games is super interesting. I've seen some really cool research being done on that. Like, of course, the bulk of the research that I've seen is, like, about violence in video games, because that was, like, a big, like, political concept a while back. But I actually have a friend... Oh, I think she got laid off. But I had a friend who was working for a major video game company, and I actually applied to work at the same company as a psychological researcher working for that company. Like, video game companies will hire psychological researchers, they'll hire researchers specifically to try and balance things like game difficulty. Because, you know, if a game is to Riot literally has a data science department and game design, that's true. Yeah. Microsoft has, Microsoft and Xbox, actually. I applied to my Xbox for a job to work as, to work in data science and game design. Yeah, we've disproven the concept that video games caused it, but media... Oh, okay, so Elias, that's actually pretty complicated. It's complicated. Okay, so the first things first, we cannot prove or disprove anything. We use statistics, and we can provide evidence for or against things, but we cannot prove or disprove anything. Meta-analyses currently demonstrate that the link between playing violent video games and aggression is, if it exists, it is very weak. There is some evidence that maybe a link exists, but the effect size is incredibly weak. Like, it's very, very small effect size, so the probability that it's actually having any major impact on anyone's behavior is very, very small, at least on, like, a population level. Write it down. Scientist proves you can't prove things. We can provide a lot of evidence, but we cannot prove things with statistics. That's not a thing that you can do with statistical analyses, because statistics is all about probability, right? And you can never have a 100% probability of something, especially if you're working with sample data and not population data. Wasn't the studies that showed potential evidence very weak studies based on weak evidence? Not all of them. But, like, I would say the evidence is weak and inconsistent, but I'm talking about, like, meta-analyses. What meta-analyses do is they take all of the studies that they can find that meet a certain criteria studying something, and they essentially combine the results of all of those studies to see what the literature overall is showing. And meta-analyses on video game violence in video games, I think they might have shown a slight positive correlation, but the problem is that's a correlation, first of all. It's not causation. It could be that people who are already predisposed to violence are playing violent video games, as opposed to violent video games are making people more likely to commit violence, right? There's also the matter of, it's very difficult to ethically study. So like to do an experiment that would show causation between violent video games and aggression is very difficult because there are very few, like, there are few to no ethical methods of studying actual physical aggression. So a lot of the time, if we want to measure aggression, we have to use roundabout ways, like ask people, would you be violent in this situation? Which the correlation between what people say they're going to do and what they actually do, between like attitudes and behavior or like intentions as opposed to actual behavior, is actually pretty small. Like, people are not good at predicting how they'll behave in certain scenarios. So that's one problem with it. Another problem with those studies is that measuring aggression, you have to get creative, because we cannot actually run a study where we check if people are punching people. We can't really do that in a controlled experimental environment, because that would be causing physical harm, and we cannot do that. So like things like would be like, we might measure aggression as how loud people scream into a microphone, or like how much they punch a punching bag, or how much hot sauce they're willing to feed to another person. Yeah, that was the info I got to. It'd be very likely certain people are already predisposed to certain kinds of behavior before playing the video game, like gambling, unsure of how to phrase. Yeah, that's a problem of it. That's part of the problem. Experiments can be done, but part of the problem with like shorter term experiments where it's just one session is, you know, like, we can't really measure violence in that way ethically, because we don't want to physically harm people, or mentally, we don't want to cause undue harm. There's also longitudinal studies. These are not true experiments necessarily. And it could be that there's other things happening over the course of however many months or years they're measuring it. So you can't establish causation from that. There's this one really interesting study. It was like, something like, it had a huge sample size. It had a really big sample size. It was a longitudinal study over, I think, a period of 4 years of a whole bunch of Korean people playing video games, specifically violent video games. And on one hand, it did find evidence that the more people played these video games, the more aggressive they became over time. However, that same data, if you analyzed it using a different type of statistic or a different analysis method, actually showed the opposite. So depending on how you analyzed exactly the same data, you might conclude that that people who played violent video games became more aggressive, or you might conclude that they became less aggressive by analyzing the same data in different methods. Like, so there's really no clear conclusion. There might be some evidence that maybe playing violent video games is related to more aggression, but that could very well be like a matter of correlation, not causation. And even the studies that could potentially claim causation or something close to it, the results are ambiguous, and depending on how you analyze the results, you might get opposite answers. So it's a very complicated. We haven't proven that violent video games have no effect on aggression, but it's like, I forgot about the fun same data, different conclusion results too. Yeah. There's ad hoc theories that those video games increase the aggression, work out the aggression, and reduce actual violence. Yeah, there's a thing called the catharsis hypothesis that's actually not terribly supported. The idea being that it's like punching a pillow to get out. Like, when you're angry, go punch a pillow or punch a punching bag. That's the catharsis hypothesis, is that essentially you're venting those aggressive impulses. Evidence for that is mixed. When it comes to like physical violence, like actually harming other people in the real world, or physical aggression, being aggressive towards people in the real world, the catharsis hypothesis does not hold up. Engaging in aggression actually makes you more likely to engage in aggression later on, like in the real world. So in that sense, it does not work. Yeah, and it doesn't sit well with the data either. The catharsis hypothesis does not seem to be borne out by the data. In fact, it seems kind of the opposite. Yeah, the practice of violence makes you better at violence. Exactly, and it makes it feel more acceptable. It makes it feel more normative. It makes you more desensitized to violence in the real world. Video games and catharsis, it's kind of like the general video games and violence thing. When it comes to catharsis through violent video games, the evidence is a lot more mixed and there's no clear answer. But in real life, the catharsis hypothesis does not work out. It does not pan out. I kind of yapped so hard that I lost track of chat. If it wasn't for ethics, we could just put people in the boxing ring for science. Mood. Academia does take animal ethics very seriously, yes. Phi can talk a lot more about that. I don't do research with animals, so I don't know much about it, but yeah. Ad hoc theories that those video games increase the aggression work. Oh, yeah, I read that. There's also a question of causality not necessarily being relevant, even if statistically provable. Not installing windows in every bathroom stall would probably lead to more drug overdoses, but I don't think anyone's going to agree to let big... There are some things you cannot study ethically, which is hard. Interesting, today I learned. Well, maybe, 1, I'm being bullied. 2, I play violent video games to escape. 3, this could be a certain kind of violent mental reinforcement. It's possible, yeah. There's a lot of, like, it's a very messy topic, and I don't think we'll ever get a good answer. I wonder if there have to be synergistic effects. It's possible. Honestly, most things in social psychology do have some sort of synergistic thing going on there. Like, we are all about context. Context is very important. It's rarely, if ever, only one variable causing something, you know? Like, I would suspect if video games do make people more aggressive, there are a lot of other things that have to be also happening in that case. There has to be, you know, norms have to be more supportive of violence, because social norms are highly powerful. Like, there's got to be a lot going on. Couldn't be me, molecules guy. Yeah, right? There's a lot more to animal ethics than people realize, although I have more knowledge about it in the medical context rather than what psychological studies do. Yeah. Yeah, so you know, time. Like, I've learned a lot about animal ethics from Phi. I really think it's cool. I'd love to hear more about animal ethics from Phi, but he's taught me a lot about the ethics of doing research on animals, and like, there are a lot of safeguards in there. It's really interesting. Animals have more safeguards than humans, and I know for a fact, like, in terms of ethics approval, it is a lot harder, a lot more steps, and there is a lot more review into research done on animals than research done on humans. Now, that might change if you're doing medical research on humans, especially for things like surgical interventions or medications with lots of side effects. In that case, that might flip. But if I'm just doing a study on, say, memory in humans versus memory in animals, you do have to do more paperwork to do like a basic study on things like navigating a space for animals than navigating a space for humans. There might also be multicollinearity. Maybe having video games makes you less likely to take self-defense classes and you won't learn. Yeah. Rather than multicollinearity, well, multicollinearity, that could be a concern, but if you control for, like, if you measure how much they're taking self-defense classes and include that as a covariate, then you could rule that out as something that's, you know, rule that out or account for that as something that's affecting that relationship. That makes sense. Animals can't speak up for themselves. Yeah, they can't speak up for themselves, so they're considered a more vulnerable population, so it requires more review. Animals cannot consent. I think I don't know how, IACUC application for our animal research was like 300 pages long. Yeah, that's ridiculous. I'm actually kind of curious, since I've learned mostly from the German system where things are much stricter. When I go back to the US, it'll be interesting to see the changes. Yeah, there's a lot of variability. And also, like, even for the same thing, so like, there's various levels of ethical approval. Most of my research falls in the exempt category, which is, exempt doesn't mean you're exempt from ethical approval. It just means that only one person needs to review your application, essentially. If you have expedited, that means, like, exempt is like, this is minimal risk study. You could just do an anonymous survey. You're just asking people questions in an anonymous context, usually, or like, it's incredibly low risk. And you're not using a vulnerable population. All of your participants are over 18, and they're all anonymous, and they all, like, have the ability to consent, and there's not a power dynamic between the researcher and all these things, like, and that only requires one person to review it. Expedited it's a bit more riskier. That there are methods to detect multicollinearity to an extent, but only if you've measured relevant variables. But yeah, you're right. Like, if you don't have the relevant variables, then you can't really detect it, unfortunately. Clee, you're right. There are things that might hint that there's a variable you're not accounting for in data. Like, sometimes you can see, oh, wait, this data is doing a weird pattern, or like, it's, what is it? Is it called the Simpson paradox, or like that thing? Like, if you look at the, like, a scatter plot of the data, sometimes you can detect, hey, something weird is going on here. Yeah, the Simpson paradox. The Simpson paradox is a certain pattern in data that might occur if there's something like multicollinearity, or like a confound, or like some other variable that's influencing your data that you didn't necessarily measure. Sometimes you can get a hint that there might be multicollinearity going on, even if you didn't measure the variable, but it can be difficult to find that. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. But yeah, expedited research it's still fairly low risk, but maybe you're using participants that are under 18 and therefore are considered higher risk, but it's still a very minimum risk study. And that requires more than one person to review it, or it requires more review in general. And then there is full review. Full review requires a whole bunch of people as a group to review your application. And I think like animal studies are full review by default. If you're doing studies on humans, they can be expedited, they can be even exempt. And again, most of my studies are exempt. But I think animal studies are like automatically full review. Generally, yes, yeah. Whew, I talked a lot. Oh, I had one more thing. This was from Xenotime. I'm sorry, I'm Xenotime. I'm really late getting this. To be honest, I'm incapable of drawing anything. You could draw something. It just takes a lot of practice. You know, anyone can draw, like, scribbles or something. But, like, you know, it can take practice. Have always wanted to try and actually learn. Any advice, suggestions? I think the most important suggestion is always, well, draw a lot. You gotta draw a lot. Like, the advice I was given is draw at least once a day. Draw something. But I don't think you need to draw once a day, but draw a lot. Use references. Do not be ashamed at using references. Use references. And another piece of advice I have is break things into simple shapes. Like a human head is essentially an oval. And you can refine the oval from there, but start out with the simple shapes of it. Find the simple shapes. The head is an oval. The neck and the torso are rectangles. You know, things like that. All this sounds like paperwork to start doing anything. That's what ethics is. It's a lot of paperwork to start doing it, but it's very important. I don't want to downplay how important ethics is, but like in practice does end up being a lot of paperwork. Don't forget to hydrate while talking. Yeah, I'm actually almost out of my beverage, unfortunately. I'll need to get some water soon. That's really helpful. I'm really glad. Maybe I should do some art streams soon so I can demonstrate. I could yap for hours on what I've learned in animal ethics presentations. Mood. Can kids be traumatized by crow feet? Full review. Good question. I wonder. I'm compiling references right now for a TTRPG character. Yep, it happens. Compiling references is hard, but fun. This is really helpful. I'm glad. Not using references, just using enough reference that you have internalized the patterns of all the references you use. That's true, Clee. You do not get to the point of drawing without a reference until you have drawn with references a lot. In fact, I need to get back to drawing with references because my art improvement has really stagnated over the past few years because I've stopped using references that much, which means I'm no longer improving. If you want to improve, inevitably you have to use after a certain point, like you've gotten used to like hand-eye coordination and things like that, you're gonna have to use references to improve. And I have not been using references to improve, and I need to get back to that. The breaking things into simple shapes is something I do all the time. Yeah, Warpy, it's super important. I guess the slow grind of getting good at art. Yeah, it is a grind. It's a grind. There's also a question of deliberate practice and whatnot. Not all practice is created equal. That's true. Like, just drawing in and of itself is not necessarily practice. Like, to an extent it can be, but, like, I draw a lot, but I wouldn't consider what I'm drawing to be practice because I'm not actually attempting to improve. I'm not practicing things that I'm not good at very often, and I really need to do more of that. Maybe I should make a stream series on Twitch where I do that. I'm getting to that stage. I'm using a lot of reference. Shout out to Adorcus. I love Adorcus stock for reference. They have so many good poses, especially if you're into like more comic-y poses. They're great. But for some things I don't have refs, I can fake it enough to make it. That's good. Only drawing feet. I hate to say it, Clee, but like, because I hate drawing feet and I'm bad at it and I struggle with it, I probably need to do like, when I was struggling at drawing hands, what I did was, When I was struggling at drawing hands, what I did was I just drew the entire American Sign Language alphabet to practice. Oh, yeah, 10,000 hours. That's the, yeah. I should do foot studies, right. I need to do foot studies too, and I hate that. I hate that. I hate that. I don't want to do it, but if I want to improve, I'm gonna have to do it. I'm gonna have to do it. Yeah. Oh, sorry. So the rest, 10,000 hours where the dude learns drawing with neuroscience. That's cool. I'll have to check that out. Right. The rest of Warpy's stuff was, or did I already put all my skin points into drawing molecules and it's over? No, it's not over. Or while using Anki. Ah, you can learn drawing with Anki? Anki is like a flashcard thing, right? I've used Anki to study kanji and stuff before. That's wild. Don't want to use the Rob Liefeld method and simply not draw feet ever. Even if you don't draw feet, you're gonna have to draw shoes at some point, right? And like I've been doing like I draw my own VTuber models, and if I want a full body model, I'm gonna have to draw feet, unless I do like with this one. Sadly, that can't be flipped tight enough to be foot slander. Good. Or like I have to draw shoes, and honestly, I hate drawing shoes more than I hate drawing feet. The Toxo method minus feet equals stick. I love Toxo's method. That's so good. It's such a broken method. Okay, actual question. For someone looking to do the thing you're doing, what's a good place to look for mentorship? How do I crack the ice? I'm doing a lot of things. Like, specifically, what part of what I'm doing do you mean? Like, my job? Like, being a psychology lecturer? Or, like, streaming or drawing, or like which thing I'm doing? You did well with the Adventure Time model shoot. Thank you. Adventure Time luckily has a very simple art style, which like the hands in Adventure Time are also crazy simple. It's like a big oval with a smaller oval attached and some lines on it. Also, that hand language thing sounds genius. Yeah, I do recommend it as a way to practice drawing hands. Just draw sign language. Draw sign language. Being burnt out. Burnout. The burnout is real. Burnout is real and burnout sucks. But it is unavoidable to an extent. Well, I don't know. It probably is avoidable. I'm not the type of person who's good at avoiding burnout, unfortunately. I'm the type of person who just works myself into the ground and keeps working. I'll work myself into a hole and then just keep digging. That's my work philosophy, and it got me through grad school, but not happily. I want to be a research psychologist. Congratulations on your master's degree. That's awesome. But I'm in a weird spot where I don't know where to go now. I tried applying for a mentorship, but I didn't get it. Oh, let's see. I mean, it's going to be hard to find a job now. Like, to be a research psychologist, you can to some extent do that with a master's degree, but you're probably only ever going to be like, you're probably not going to be a PI with a master's degree unless you get a job in industry. Like, data scientists, you've learned research skills in your master's degree probably. So you could apply for jobs at companies as like a data scientist or things like that. I don't know Elias well enough to write a letter of recommendation, unfortunately. If I knew you better, I want to get a PhD eventually, but I know it's going to be a while. Yeah. I mean, research experience is a big thing there. So you can contact people and ask if they need help, if they want to collab. Start a streaming panel and stream your PhD journal. That's what Sideria did. Sideria on Twitch is great. She's been streaming her way through her PhD. You can apply for positions in industry and get some research experience there. Academic research positions, rather than mentorships, mentorships, maybe like you could apply for like, one of the big things that helped me get into my PhD program was I became a lab manager. Data science, the job you go into, you got a degree in stats with it, but are not good enough to be quant. I think data scientists and data analysts, these are both things that you can do. A/B testers. A/B testers is basically you're just doing a simple experiment. These are all industry jobs that you can do to use research skills. If you want to go PhD though, PhD, unfortunately, they tend to value academic research a bit more than industry research. So that's part of it. Being a lab manager will help, and getting connections and networking in general is super important. Like, I wish that it wasn't, but if you can get connections, that is important. If you can get involved in research where you have a chance to become an author on a publication, that's also a very good thing to do. Other things, A/B testers are nice. Don't become a C tester, totally different. Lots of, what? Oh, is that like C the programming language? Oh no. There's other things. Um, Ooh, Clee, that's a cool idea. Sorry, I'm catching up. Um, Other things you can do, like depending on what you want to do with your PhD. So like, I have some friends who I was in a lab when I started my PhD. I was in a lab doing political psychology. So psychology specifically of politics and things related to it. And one thing that helped some applicants in our lab was they had actual experience working with politicians. Like some had interned at politicians' offices and stuff like that. And so they didn't necessarily, they did have some research experience, but not necessarily experience with that. Like, but yeah, they had experience in the topic that they wanted to do research on. Not necessarily research experience, but they had practical experience in it. I think it'd be nice if I could eventually become a psychologist consultant for a video game or nonprofit to help with mental health of the gaming community. That would be really cool. You might be able to volunteer for some nonprofits and stuff to get some initial experience and to make some connections. The way that I got an interview at a video game company for a research position was I actually had a friend who was already working there. But if you want to go and work at a company or a nonprofit, like those industry jobs, you do not necessarily need a PhD. Most of the time, you will not need a PhD for that. Most of the time you don't need a PhD to work in industry. Like you can do it with a master's as long as you can demonstrate that you understand how to do research, which ideally is stuff you have done from the a lot of no friends with friends. Yeah. But like if you want to do nonprofit, like volunteering of course is not ideal because you're not getting paid a lot of the time for volunteering. But if you can just do some small volunteer work, like maybe offer to set up a website for a nonprofit or something like that. Maybe that can help you, that should help you get connections that might be able to, like, name recognition is a lot. But yeah, most of the time you don't need a PhD, full stop. Clee is correct. What do bachelor's holders do? HR work? Oh, actually, recently my psychology program has looked at what our graduates has done. Yeah, Elias, I would definitely recommend, though, looking at nonprofits that are looking for volunteers. Internships would be more ideal if you could get them, or just a job at those places if you can get them. Of course, that would be more ideal. Internships probably a bit easier, but making connections, getting your name out there is one of the most important things that you can do, I'd say. Getting that name recognition. And there's other creative ways to do that, I think. Like maybe making a blog or something like that. And that way, even if you can't make connections, like maybe a blog or a YouTube channel, you could make connections through that. But even if you don't, you can include that in your application, assuming that you keep it professional. And that can help demonstrate that, like, hey, look, I am passionate about this topic. I've thought a lot about it. So, do unis usually publish follow-ups on students? Everything I've read is employment stats, which are misleading. What you can do, and what I've done when, like, my department was looking at what people were actually doing with their bachelor's degree. Oh yeah, like, in that case, meeting people face-to-face is probably a good thing. But yeah, if you want to find out what people are doing with a bachelor's degree from a certain thing, you can actually go on LinkedIn. And LinkedIn allows you to go to like an organization. Yeah, you don't even have to do scraping, actually. You can find a lot of data on LinkedIn. Like, I can't show you on my screen because that would dox me. And I don't want to dox myself. But like, let's say I go to, why do I have messages on LinkedIn? Who's talking to me? Recruiters. Okay. Let's say I go to, let's find some random university, like, I don't know, Stanford or something. Let's say I go to the Stanford University organization page on there, and it will show people who list Stanford's on their page, and you can look and see things like, you can click more alumni for a university. And the alumni thing, it will show you where they work. It lists the names of companies that they work, and you can filter that to some extent for like, I can search for psychology alumni, or like I can go like to people who list that, and it will list the type of companies they're working at, the type of positions that they're at. So like most people at Stanford are working in something called business development, then engineering, then education, then research, then operations. It'll show like the most common job titles. And what we found at my university, our psychology bachelor's students, there were quite a few working in HR, but the most common thing actually was like health services. A lot of our psychology bachelor's graduates ended up working in some sort of like healthcare related field. And some of them, of course, did go on to get additional degrees like MDs or whatever, or like get like a license to practice therapy or like a master's in clinical psychology or whatever. Like quite a few people did end up doing that, but others would go and like become like administrative assistants or like receptionists or like mental health specialists or like people have done a lot. Like they do a lot of different things. But yeah, we were surprised. We were expecting like HR to be near the top or something. We weren't really sure what to expect, but I think most of our bachelor's graduates in psychology were working at some sort of like somewhere in the medical or medical adjacent field. Yeah. If I remember correctly. I don't know if I remember correctly, but that's what I seem to recall. Where was I? What were we doing? Oh, okay. No, I don't have any good questions. I've been going for a while. 2.5 hours? That's long for me. That's a long time for me. I wonder if I should stop. I thought I might do some co-working during this, but I have not achieved any of that. I kind of decided I wouldn't. I don't know. I'm tired. I'm hungry. I'm sleepy. It's not dinner time yet. Why isn't it dinner time? I want to eat. I want to eat food. Please hydrate. Yeah, I should get some water. I'm not very thirsty. I'm hungry. 'Tis up to the moth. That's true. Let's do a last call for questions. If anyone has any other questions they want to submit in chat or through the Google form in the pinned, go for it. And then maybe I'll go and rest. By rest, I mean probably play some Uma Musume or something additionally silly. Don't let the clock tell you when to eat. I need to be careful. I've had a lot of guests around lately. So I've been eating, like, I've been going out to eat a lot. And I've been eating a lot of junk food, so I'm trying to like regulate when I eat a bit more. What's your streaming schedule so I can hopefully catch you again? I don't have a streaming schedule, I'm sorry. When the new semester starts up, I might set up a streaming schedule, but I'm planning to stream co-working at least a few times this week, but unfortunately I don't have one. I usually stream in the afternoon. When I stream, I usually stream in the afternoon or evening Eastern time, like East Coast of the US time. I'm sorry though, I don't have a set schedule. I'm sorry. Part of enjoyment of the stream was just feeling the excitement bleeding off Mylan's face when they open and question. See, it's just another foot questions from the See, that's what I said. I'm very bullyable. Why is there another Y feet in here? Clee, are you bullying me? Streaming schedules once every whatever. That's pretty much. Yeah, Warpy, you know me well. Is Kitty doing good? Astral, yes, Kitty is doing so well. Kitty is taking the best nap you've ever seen. He's draped over the back of the couch. He's laying on his side on the back of the couch, and 2 of his legs are hanging off the edge of the couch, and his face is buried in the couch, and he is snoozing real well. He's doing real good. He's the best boy I've ever known. I love him. Streaming schedule follows the fish distribution. Like the Poisson distribution. Yeah, sometimes I'll like stream every day for a week, and then other times I'll go like weeks or maybe even months without streaming. Actually, since I joined VTheorem, I don't think I've gone more than like a month and a half without either a stream or a video, but you know how it is. If I were a streamer, I'd have exact same randomly generated schedule. That's powerful. You'd have to put some restrictions on the randomization, or else you could be streaming a bunch in one day, or streaming at like 3 a.m. or something ridiculous. That sounds miserable. Let's see. What is the longest horse scroll mind session? I know it's at least 2 hours from Discord snitching it. That's a great question, because actually, just because Discord says I have horse scrolls open doesn't mean that I'm actually playing it. This is my stupid secret, okay? Like, I play horse scrolls, but I'm doing a lot of other things at the same time. Like, if I'm playing Uma Musume, chances are high I might also be grinding in Fate Grand Order. And I also maybe I might be reading something. I've been reading a lot of books lately. And then I'm probably watching a YouTube video. So, like, I'm watching a YouTube video, I'm reading something, I'm playing Uma Musume, and maybe in addition, I might even also be playing Fate Grand Order all at the same time. And this means I often actually, a lot of the time when it says I have Uma Musume open, I have been playing Uma Musume, but then I forget that I have it open, because, like, I have other windows open at the same time, and then it goes behind those windows, and I forgot that I was playing Uma Musume. And there will be times when I have Uma Musume open for multiple hours in the background, waiting for me to take the next option, and I've completely forgotten about it. Double gotcha games at the same time, right? I'm just that strong. My stream schedule was whenever I had time and could afford to buy a bunch of hardware, store chemicals. We'll see if it gets more consistent when I come back. Yeah, that's rough. Ceno time. When you need physical materials to do streaming, that's rough. And Vetherum who has the most stream schedule discipline? Right now, at the current moment in time, I'd say Sidere. Though she's about to go on hiatus, or like a semi-hiatus, because she has her PhD revisions due soon, but she actually was putting out a regular schedule at the same days of the week. Like, for a bit there, Psy was definitely the correct answer to that. We just need to bully Mylan and become a full-time educational streamer. Please, no. Please. Please, no. I don't think I could do this full-time. I would die. I'm definitely also I'm not making any money on this. I'm not making a cent on this. I could not afford to go full-time. Let's see. A stream of mine was legitimately delayed because I was stranded in a Home Depot parking lot in the middle of winter by a wonderful bus. Oh no, Zena! Don't miss that side of North America. Fair. Oh, that's powerful. But if you could, would you? Would I go full-time? No. I don't think I'd go full-time streaming, probably. Even if I could. Like, if I could afford that, I probably would. Imagine the millions. I don't think I'll ever get millions of views. Part of the problem is that I have zero desire to advertise myself. Like, I've thought about it. I've even thought about putting out shorts and stuff. But, like, I don't have the motivation. I don't have the drive for that. I don't have the energy or the courage to put myself out there. There's a reason I have the lowest metrics out of everybody in Vetherum. I'm amazed that they let me in with, like, when I got into Vetherum, I had only just hit 100 subs. Like, I am by far, it's not even close, the smallest member of Vetherum. And part of that, there's a lot of reasons for that, but I think the biggest reason is everybody else at least does some level of advertisement. I don't really do any advertisement of myself. I don't promote myself. You just need to awaken the desire for clout. I don't know if I'll ever awaken the desire for clout, because honestly, like I said, I have some pretty intense social anxiety. Being perceived scares me. The idea of, like, I've entertained the idea of, like, having a dream of becoming famous one day, and, like, you know, I've maybe daydreamed about becoming, like, a popular VTuber or something, like, once or twice, but, like, that's only ever been, like, idle daydreams. The reality of having a lot of eyes on you, the reality of a lot of people knowing who you are and having opinions on you and thinking about you when they are not actively interacting with you, that is kind of my worst nightmare. I still haven't done shorts, I just don't have the motivation to do something that's more for gaining viewers than making something cool. Fair. Advertising overrated, let faith guide people to your channel? Nude. The only reason I would ever try becoming a VTuber is be able to do shenanigans like shindigs with Dog Duck. I love watching their shenanigans. Dreaming of becoming an idol. I don't think I'd ever want to be an idol. I have thought about doing singing. I need to get around to it, and it doesn't help that I've been sick lately, and also I need to buy a better mic or rent, like, the recording studio in the library, but I do have a song cover that I may or may not be doing. I may or may not be doing a song cover. So maybe I'm getting closer to being an idol, but I don't want to be an idol. Like, but I do have a song cover in mind, and I have acquired a team to help me with it. So I don't know if I'm actually a good singer. That's the thing. I don't know if I'm a good singer. You'll have to find out. You'll have to find out if I'm a good singer. Warning, I do not know. Having several thousand people just do meme shit sounds fun. That does sound fun. Mylan, when you're doing your PhD, someone must have told you to get yourself out often, network, advertise, etc. That's true, Comey. I was shit at it. I was never good at networking. Like, I tried a little bit, but honestly, I'm gonna be real. The best networking is unintentional. The best networking is completely unintentional. Like, the best networking I ever did was just, like, making friends. I'm not good at putting myself out there. I'm not good at advertising myself. I did at one point force myself to, like, have my university do a press release for a paper that I released, but that was my dissertation, and it was my baby, you know? So, like, I was able to do that, and, like, for a while I did want to be interviewed on the news and stuff. I thought it would be a really cool thing, and oddly enough, that did happen. I have been interviewed by the press a couple of times about my research, but it's always a horribly nerve-wracking experience. I would not want to do that on a regular basis. Like, it's like, you know, you think that you want something, or you want to put yourself out there, and then it's just so scary that you're like, every time you do, it's just scary. And then it's not a big incentive to do it again. I'm not that talented. You said idle dreams? Yeah. Idle, IDLE, that's it. Idol culture seems horrible. I stayed away from VTubers as a genre for a long time because I assumed it was going to be idol culture. Understand, idol culture terrifies me. The way people act around idols terrifies me. Let us train a model on your voice and we're becoming famous by grinding TikTok. Please no. Please no. Networking. V-Theorem. V-Theorem is me networking. This is my version of networking. I guess I actually kind of did some VTuber networking when I first started by just drawing random VTubers. Like, I would just search the VTuber tag on, like, Twitter and find some random person whose design I liked. And then I would just send it to them, and that was my version of networking. I should do that again, actually. That was a lot of fun. And, like, especially if you pick, like, a small VTuber, they get really excited about fan art because they've probably never gotten fan art before. And so, like, it's just really fun making somebody's day that way. Maybe I should do an art stream later today or later this week and just, like, make it like we're gonna hunt down random tiny VTubers and draw them. That sounds like fun. Please draw us fan art of Chibi Mothman Horse Girl Idol. That actually sounds like fun. I might do that. Oh man, I love Art Fight. Desire for clout until this first stalker. I've already had a stalker and I have zero desire to have another stalker. It was horrible. I'm still working through that in therapy like 20 years later. I don't want to get stalked again. Draw my model. I'd draw your model, Clee. Agreed about fan art. Yeah, but Art Fight. I love Art Fight. I've only done Art Fight once. I did one fully polished picture every day for that entire month, and it gave me carpal tunnel. That's why I have this wrist brace. Art Fight, I was injured in the Art Fight. I was injured in the Art War, and now I am debuffed eternally. I can never do Art Fight again because it's been 2 years now, and my wrist is still not better from the single Art Fight that I participated in. Now even my model has the wrist brace. I'm incapable of pacing myself, Elias. If there's one thing you need to know about me, it's that I'm incapable of pacing myself. Everybody in V-Theorem can attest to this. I'm not really sure idol culture is much worse than any other fandom. It's just different to Westerners, so it's already weird. I think part of it is like the personal life thing, the like dating bans and stuff like that. That's what scares me. Like the encouragement of parasocial relationships to that extent is scary. And of course there are other like things other than idol culture that do that. Some corners of streamer culture also engage in that, but like I think that's dangerous, you know? Art Fight is significantly less fun because people don't draw their OCs fighting. I miss OCTs, OC tournaments. I loved doing OC tournaments, which were essentially what you do is you'd enter a tournament, and it was a tournament bracket, and you'd enter your OC, and your original characters, your OCs, you'd be matched up against somebody, and then you'd draw a comic of your OC beating the shit out of the other person's OC, and they would do the same with their OC beating the shit out of yours, and then there'd be a panel of judges, and they'd decide who'd made the most entertaining comic, and that person would advance to the next round, and it was so... I miss OCTs so much. If somebody hosted an OCT, I would participate. I'd drop everything. I'd participate in a second. Maybe I'm just not familiar with the worst sides of other fandoms. Yeah, fandom can get gross. I'm actually really interested in doing research on, like, the gross like, the shitty side of fandom. I would really love to do that. You were too good, I had to be nerfed, right? Stalker self, not the arse fight, wrist brace, that's just doing art, that's true. But yeah, I don't recommend being stalked. Not that that's necessarily something you can control. You can kind of mitigate the risk of it a little bit by not becoming famous. Like, that severely increases your risk, but, like, even if you're not famous, like, I did have an online presence, and I was somewhat well-known in certain circles when I was stalked, but that was not the reason that I was stalked, you know? It was by somebody who did not know me online. It was somebody who knew me in person. And I didn't even really have a high profile. We just happened to be in the same class, and we happened to sit near each other, and that was enough, you know? If it helps this year, I drew OC's fighting. That's awesome. There was a Ruby OCT that had one episode, and I'm still yearning. Oh man. Oh, Endling's OCT is what got me into OCT. This is showing my age. The fact that I know about Endling's OCT. It was Nevermore, I think. I had thoughts of participating in OCTs. Oh, they're so much fun. They're so much fun. Do you want to see who I drew them fighting? Am I allowed to? Yeah, you can post. I'm interested. I'd like to see. As long as it's, like, not safe for work and not, like... If it's art stuff, as long as it's not safe for work, and as long as it's not, like, bigoted in some way, I'm cool. VTuber OCTs would go hard. You just need to do it anonymously to avoid fan base just spamming their... I would love to do a VTuber OCT just for kicks and giggles. In my head, OCT only means Ontario Certified Teacher that I'm working towards. You can do it, Matt. You can do it. That is funny. Myelin is perfectly say-so. I'm so say-so. You would not believe it. I don't draw not safe for work, though there are some blood and mild horror vibes. That's totally fine. I'm totally cool with blood and mild horror vibes. I have one OC that is literally a rotting corpse piloted by a sentient plant. I have no problem with gore. Oh man, you should have seen the OC that I had in OCTs a while back. Like, when I say a while back, I mean literally like 20 years ago almost. But that OC was all about gore. I have no problem with gore. Like, I won't show gore on stream. I won't do that. Like, and I don't like IRL gore. I don't like real gore, but like, or like realistic gore, but like art gore, I'm fine with. Just not on stream. I have a friend who has a character who's a husk of a plant person, but is controlled by sentient mycelium. They're really cool. That's nice. I love that. That makes me happy. We need more corpses piloted by plants and fungi. We really do. All right, was there any more things in the question thing? It doesn't look like it, so maybe I should stop. We're getting close to 3 hours as well. So I should probably stop, get some rest, get some water. Maybe I can draw. Maybe I can keep yapping. No! Nah! I mean, what would I even yap about? I've actually been yapping so hard that for some reason one of my ears has popped. Or something has happened to one of my ears. I don't like it. Fandoms? I guess I could yap about fandoms. And OCTs, I could yap about that as well, but I should probably stop. I'm just excited to those other people who are into psychology and VTubing. This is super exciting. If you like psychology and VTubing, you should definitely check out Psychologist. Gonna head out now. Bye. Oh, take care. Take care. Have a good one, Xeno time. But yeah, check out Psychologist. Psychologist is, oh god, sorry, that was her VOD. Cordyceps is greater than mycelium. Fair enough. Yeah, thank you for coming, Xenotime. Take care. Sidere is also she's another member of V Theorem. She is currently almost complete. She's almost done with her PhD in psychology. And she's super cool. The underappreciated VTuber Cider. I would argue she's still underappreciated. Even after the Vettel raid yesterday, she's still underappreciated. Is anyone who was at the side Vettel raid ears still strange from the bells? Maybe that's what's wrong with my ear. Thoughts on Homestuck series? Do you mean the new animated series that got announced? I'm kind of excited for it. Like, I have zero expectations, and like I got out of my Homestuck phase about 1 billion years ago. Hey, we'll need to see her CCV afterwards. That's right. We'll need to see how many of those people stick around. She did get like over 1,000 followers from it though, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, it looks fun. I know a lot of my friends who are way more into Homestuck than I was back in the day are like, oh god, no. Especially because the Homestuck fandom was a whole thing. So like people are kind of like, don't want to be associated with it. I don't know. I think it sounds fun. I really thought the way that Hussey wrote dialogue in Homestuck was really fun. And I'm kind of excited to relive it and like hear a bunch of the iconic quotes away in a way, but V Theorem OCT. We do have that V Theorem comic that has had only one entry and I need to get back on it. Yeah, I think Toby Fox is voicing the main character. I think he's voicing John Egbert. That's what I've heard, which is wild to me. I can't believe that's happening, but I don't know. It looks like I think it'll be fun. Like, am I super excited about it? No, I've hardly thought about Homestuck in over a decade. Do I think it'll be fun? Yeah. Will I subscribe to a streaming service I don't currently subscribe to just to watch it? No. If it happens to be on a streaming service that I already have, will I watch it? Yeah, maybe. Maybe. That's more or less my thoughts on the new Homestuck animated series. Does that make sense? Yeah. I think that covers it. Homestuck, is this some Undertale fan thing? Clee. I have mixed feelings about Homestuck. I liked it okay when I read it, but I've met some of their fans and it wasn't fun. Yeah. Yeah, I was never super... I thought so, Clee. I figured. That's not enough to make me feel old. You can't do that. That's not gonna be it. But yeah, I was going to conventions back when Homestuck was really big at conventions. I have seen things. I have heard the stories. I fear the Homestuck fandom, but also I never really got involved in the Homestuck fandom, which means I was able to keep it at, oh, the story about the girl dyeing her skin gray with ink. Yeah, there was also the story of, a Gamzee cosplayer throwing a metal bucket at somebody's head at a convention. I was there to see all the gray paint getting all over everything and like hotels either refusing to host cons or like upping the amount that they charged convention guests because of the paint and like including specific regulations and rules for convention goers that they didn't have for normal guests because of that. Okay, Doctor, I was introduced to OCT by way of a thing that had the highest resolution of 240p. Just having participated in OCTs is already showing my age, okay? Like, OCTs haven't really been a thing since the early 2010s, I think. OCTs were already dying out in the early 2010s, so, like, I've already shown my age. Homestuck came out well after the OCT craze had died down. That's why you can't make me feel... Roar on Rube? I've never heard that. I don't know what that is. I like the series, but then I shared a hotel room with some cosplayers and I sort of walked away. Understandable. That's one of the 3 I knew. I can't say too many of the OCTs that I was aware of because that would dox me because I was in a lot of the OCTs that I was aware of. Okay, gotta run by, keep the shiny Pokemon that Thank you, Kobe! Thank you! I will do my best. But I think it was... The OCT that got me into OCTs was End Zone! That was the name of it. End Zone. End Zone was the OCT that got me into it. But yeah. Yeah, Yeah, anyway. Shiny Pokemon. No! Oh yeah, there's a free shiny Wuxian. Is that... Oh, right, I need to get that. I need to put Scarlet back in my Switch, because... I need to put Scarlet back in my Switch, because I've been playing Pokemon Snap again. Or Violet. I played Violet. What am I talking about? Story was some researching leaving a cadaver in a hotel bathtub at Psy convention is still peak con horror story. I have not heard that one. I will need to investigate that one. That is absolutely wild. Okay, anyway, I should probably leave it here. I should probably stop now and get some rest. Get some dinner. I want to keep reading. I want to keep reading. I have a friend, though, who has a lot of... So what were y'all doing in 2007? For one, who as an adult, was bored in 2007. How old does that make you guys feel? Screw you, Alex. Screw you, Alex. Oh, no worries, Dorothax. What was I doing in 2007? I was in high school in 2007. That's what I was doing. I was in high school. I think 2007 would have been... Yeah. I was alive but did not have awareness yet. Fair enough. Mylan's old enough to remember before the internet days. It's true. Or, well, not like, the internet was invented before I was born, but it wasn't necessarily commonly used before I was born. We did not get internet in my house. I think we were one of the relatively early adopters of home internet. My family was. We didn't get internet in my house, though, until I was probably 8 or 9? Internet was not a thing before mid-2000s. That is not true, Glee. I feel old now, lol. Thanks, Alex. It's okay, Elias. I can't say for sure that I'm older than you, but I do know that I'm older than the vast majority of people who come to my stream. So, like, you can say it existed, it wasn't a thing. I do remember, I'd say about half the families around where I lived when I was in the 1990s might have had internet. Of course, we had dial-up, so I'm familiar with the dial-up tone. And like, my early experiences with the internet were very much, you know, get off the phone, I need to use, or get off the internet, I need to use the phone kind of thing. But, you know, I went from the youngest of my friend groups to one of the oldest I still haven't recovered. I'm so sorry. Hey, Shinsta! Welcome, Shinsta. The classic AOL dial-up days. Oh, yeah. Okay, Dr. Bulletin Board. Heh. My favorite website as a child was Hamster Dance. I loved Hamster Dance. I lived for the 5 minutes my parents let me use the internet to watch Hamster Dance. We had a rotary phone in the house, that's all I'll say. I think we did too. I think we did have a rotary phone as well. Oh man. Here, Elias, if it helps you feel better. Actually, I don't know. Maybe you share this experience, in which case you can sympathize with me. When I was a child, our television, our TV, had a dial to change the channels. It had an antenna, and it had a dial to change the channels. Did that help at all? Did that help? We didn't even have a remote. We had a dial. I don't know if that helps, but maybe. Oh, no, it didn't? Oh, maybe you are older than me. I'm sorry. I am a cryptid, you're right, it's true. Oh, we kids were the dial? I mean, that's true. As you can see, I'm very white, and I was also the dial. I was the remote. I was the remote, rather. Dad says to turn the dial on, so we turn the dial. No, same. I had the same experience. I'm so glad you can sympathize with this. I don't know many friends who had dial TVs. Like, I'm so happy. Oh. All right, I should rest. I should probably rest. My voice still isn't fully recovered from... I'm still not fully recovered from being sick, so I think my voice is taking a bit more of a hit than I usually would. I don't quite remember the dial TV, but I feel like it was something we had. My brother probably remembers, he's older. That's fair. Yeah. I distinctly remember the dial TV. that my family had. It's one of the, I don't have many memories from my childhood. I remember that dial TV. I remember watching the Olympics on the dial TV. Living in the thirdish world is so interesting because my childhood was mid to late 2000s, but I do remember VHS alongside DVD and had both an NES, PS1, and PS2. I had a VHS player, or my family had a VHS player, but I was not allowed to have a game console. My parents didn't let me have a gaming console until I was in like junior or senior year of high school, and even then I was only allowed to use it to play Dance Dance Revolution. That's why I'm not much of a gamer. We still have Spaceballs on VHS. My family definitely has that on VHS too. Actually, they might have gotten rid of it when my parents moved, when my parents downsized after me and my sister moved out. I think they got rid of and or digitized all our VHSs, but we absolutely had Spaceballs on VHS. I actually still have an antenna for my TV. I still have an antenna. I don't want to pay for cable, so I got a $10 antenna, and I get exactly 5 channels, and I only use it like twice a year. I remember when you had ice makers in your fridge was a novelty and only something super rich people have. I still don't have an ice maker in my fridge. I've got my ice cube trays in my fridge, and I'm happy with it. I actually forget I even have those most of the time, so I don't use them all that much. Did you know if you don't use the ice cubes in your ice cube makers, or your ice cube trays, for long enough, they just kind of evaporate? Even though they're frozen, they just evaporate. Also remember having to go to computer clubs to play video games I didn't have. That might be more of a post-Soviet thing. I think a lot of places, there are still like things like net cafes and stuff like that, and I've heard of computer clubs as well. When I was in Japan over the summer, the hotel we were staying at was right by a net cafe / computer club. I was pretty sure I've never actually seen a VHS tape. That's sad. Net cafe is the term, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. I think computer club's probably another term for it. I'm just guessing that those two things are the same thing. I don't actually know if that's true. And there's a lot of computer cafes around the US, definitely popular in lots of parts of Asia. Yeah, fair enough. The ones in Japan are getting real advanced. Like, it wasn't just like, I heard of some people actually using a net cafe as their hotel, because like the net cafe near the hotel I was staying at, they had like showers and everything. Hey Sparky, how you doing? How you doing? I hope that you're doing well. Hope you're doing well. I probably gotta end the stream soon. I've been going for over 3 hours now, and I'm tired. I'm weak. I'm getting a little dizzy, to be honest. Is that sad? Well, to be fair, I have been sick for the past week, and I'm still a little bit sick. So, like, I don't think it's totally pathetic that I'm feeling a little dizzy, right? After streaming for 3 hours and that my voice is going out a little bit. I don't think that's totally... 4 hours is when the second wind hits. Keep going. No, Clee! No. I'm so hungry, Clee. I'm so hungry. And nobody's asked me a new question for like half an hour, right? So why should I keep going? I don't... Oh, man. Oh, man, I'm tired. I'm tired. I think it's probably time to go. Eat Astral. He's basically a duck embryo. Astral. I'm gonna go preheat the oven. As much as I enjoy your company, I hope you eat strategy. Thank you, Elias. It's very appreciated. I know you do. You would take your... Thanks. I get that feeling after the 5-hour Shinsto. You are too powerful. I am weak. I'm very weak. It used to be I couldn't... My average stream was like 2 hours. It used to be. I think having Sai around has somehow made me better at yapping, and like just being in V-Theorem, I yap more, but... Oh, man. I am so... I'm wiped. I'm wiped. I'm wiped. I'm gonna sleep. I'm not actually gonna sleep. I'm gonna go back and read some more. I'm gonna go read. So, Yap Trading Archist, right? Torgate, Torg, how you doing? Imagine if Sai went to bed on time, she'd never been raided. If Sai went to that meeting, she never would have been raided. Thank goodness she decided not to go nap for 10 minutes. I'm incapable of napping for only 10 minutes. I either nap for like 3 hours or not at all. There's no in between. But I think I'm gonna go read. I'm gonna go read. I'm reading the first volume of How to Eat Life, and I'm very excited about it. I'm gonna go read. Astral, why are you asking me math questions? You know I don't know math. Astral's asked me, what is 1 divided by I? I don't know. I don't know. Why do people think people, like, I've had people in my real life lately being like, hey, you're a math person. Can you help me with this math problem? And I just go like, no. No, I can't. I don't know math. Do I teach statistics? Yes. Do I know math? No. I can do stats. I cannot do math. I cannot. It's impossible. Astral, Klee, Torg, I'm gonna bite all of you. I'm gonna bite you. I'm gonna gnaw off your legs. And I'm gonna feed them to my cat. This is the punishment for trying to make me do math. It's true. Astral, stop asking me math questions. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know anything. I don't know anything at all. I did okay in stats, but I'm allergic to math unless I have to use it for a special interest that I go on. Fair enough. Oh, thank you, Torg. Thank you, Torg. You saved me. My legs are made of ghost. I'll buy a fan to disperse your legs. But yeah, I get it a lot. Math was... Cleeper, please. I'm being bullied again. I'm being bullied. They're bullying me. Anyway. Yeah, no, stats was my worst subject in undergrad, but now I teach stats. I'm really good at well, I can't do Gauss-Markov either, okay? I can't do that. That's not the type of stats that I do. That's not the type of stats that I do, okay? If you ask me to explain, like, the standard deviation or a t-test or, like, a regression or a correlation or something, I can do that for you, or, like, an ANOVA. But Gauss-Markov is beyond my pay grade. What is the Gauss-Markov theory? Oh, that's OLS! That's a version of OLS for estimator of coefficients of a linear regression model is the best oh, wait. It's a theorem about linear regression. I'm familiar with linear regression. Okay. Oh, Gauss-Markov is what GM stands for? I didn't know that. I'm a fool. I need to go back and reread. I've got a lot of work to do. Maybe what I'll read is I'll go read a stats textbook. Why? Who's clipping me and why? Astral! Astral! Klee, if you bite me, I'm gonna bite you back. Why are you doing this to me? Why are you doing this to me? Why are you doing this to me? Cleeping. I love that. That's actually a great verb. I need to end the stream. Not that that would have stopped this clip from happening. For those unaware, I do not have a Discord. I do not have a Discord. I will not have a Discord. I might get a Discord if I hit 500 subs, but that's only a maybe. I do not currently have one. So what they do is Astral bullies me, and clips me out of context, and then posts the clips in my GenMates Discord. I need to quit streaming until I hit 500 subs. I need to just stick to making scripted videos until I hit 500 subs. And then just... I need to run away. I need to run. It's time to run. I need to run away. Well, I think the thing with Astral's clips is that they only work because people have a minimal amount of knowledge of me. I don't think they'd work for somebody else. You set the 500 subs milestone yourself. There's literally no reason to not make the Discord earlier. The reason to not make the Discord is that I don't want to make the Discord. Myelin is the only VTuber that gets clipped out of spite. I don't think that's true. But I am certainly a VTuber who gets clipped out of spite. Just to continue. Maybe that's what I should do. I should make a Discord server that's only a channel, and I call it out of context feet clip quarantine, and then I mute the entire server and I never look at it again. That might be what I have to do. That might be the only way to save myself. Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. Why? A Myelin fan Discord? No! It would be like you, Astral. That would just be like you. Just Astral talking to yourself. The welcome channel is just a place where I need to go. I need to go lay down, drink some water, pass out. Abandoned feet, all you. Okay, that's actually perfect. Cleeper, I like that. I like that a lot. I might need to use. Okay, I'm genuinely getting lightheaded. I think I need to go. I think I need to go. Okay, everybody, thank you all for coming to the stream. Thank you all for experiencing whatever the hell this was again. Goodbye. Goodbye. Thank you. And goodbye.